IVRL straight.
Yeah, I mean, I can smell anything. I can smell anything. Smell my
You
water
sound
breath. I can
tired.
smell anything. I can smell everything. Like favorite sheets. Yeah, I can't taste shit, but that's I can't
You
taste shit,
sound
but I can
great.
smell. Mm. I think it's on my appetite so bad.
Yeah, it may be on yours.
I don't even know how to go. Let
Yeah, I've got you below it. Do that again.
20 laps to go. How's that?
That's good. You didn't go above it. You stayed around mid yellow. All right, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are on race 20 of round 1 with IVRL versus the Days of Thunder Racing League. Right now we're getting ready for the qualifying, getting to go.
Apologizes. I see him having some audio issues, but I believe I just got it fixed. Just mentioned we are here in qualifying. It looks like the first cars to go, Rick, will be the Days of Thunder cars led by Dowdy 201, their team representative in that number 7. I'll tell you what, he looks like early on in that brand machine together some very fast laps.
Dowdy in that Brant Camaro is going to need to turn some very fast laps. Good to be here, Word. Good to be here, Worm, at a very, very fast Fort Worth racetrack. The Texas Motor Speedway hosts the 20th race of this first round. Welcome all, welcome fans, and you are watching qualifying. That is Casey Jones in the 21. Coming across the line to start his run. 20 drivers going to put up laps today to see who's got the fastest single lap time. And one thing I'm interested to see in this particular qualifying session is how dangerous these guys plan to turn these laps, Worm.
Yeah, when you look at those pits, I mean, it is very dangerous to get down, especially off of turn number 4, because you have to be a part of that racing groove. I'm eager to see if today, like they did in the SXRO race against Charlotte, if they force the drivers to stay on the apron into the entry of 3. Rick, I do want to mention something as well. You mentioned how wicked can you get these cars. Well, here in qualifying, as well as Texas in particular, it is a balls to the wall type of track. You are loose as can be and trying to keep the car wide open. You're going to see a lot of these guys go with loose qualifying setups that they may not necessarily use in race, but expect these rear ends to be kicking around for 2 laps, cars to be bottoming out and sparks flying, because overall, everyone's trying to get every single ounce they can out of that race car in the qualifying trip.
WB, coming out of the 4th corner, these drivers are going to be moving in excess of 175 miles per hour. Turns 1 and 2 at this 1.5 mile D-shaped oval have 20 degrees of banking, while 3 and 4 carry an extra 4 degrees. That doesn't sound like a lot, Word, but they're going to be carrying extra speed and moving at faster speeds on the higher side of 4. That safer barrier is going to come out and greet a couple of these drivers. It's going to knock them into the low lane, and if there's a driver in that low lane beneath them, it's wrong place, wrong time, and it could be a big disaster. Expect to see turn 4 be the hot spot under the Texas sun.
Indeed, it's funny you just mentioned that, Rick. I just watched DHD Anchor. He ended up bouncing directly off that turn 4 barrier and spinning his number 22 Ford Pennzoil Ford Mustang around, and it looks like he's just going to end his qualifying run in turn number 3. So unfortunate there, but indeed that turn 4, it is going to be a culprit all day long. And for you, Worm, obviously you know a lot about this IVRL team, and based upon what I've heard all week long, they've done a lot of practicing, not just in their pit entries, but also really trying to figure out here on default the exit of turn number 4 and how to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting watching the practice. They've been trying to work down a groove for them all to stay in, but Randy will sit there with them for at least 30 minutes to eye everybody going into the pits. Make sure you're shifting right. Don't slide. Don't lock your brakes. because you hit it wrong coming in or coming out, you're going to be up with the wall, and it's just going to it's not going to be a good play.
Agreed, Worm. We're watching DHG in the number 22 Pennzoil Mustang come down to the end here. Tyler Brown in the 73 now coming out of 4, boys.
Indeed, he's looking really good. But while we have the time, how about we cover the rosters on both sides? I do want to start with the Days of Thunder League, Rick. You have their captain, Dowdy 201, who we mentioned on the top of the broadcast. He's someone who's pretty fast, but there's a lot of names we haven't heard of really below this. Ranger, 82nd, he's in the 5. You have Crazy Killer, 5693 in the 9. You have Blitzkrieg in the 18. DHD Anchorman in the 22. Firefighter, he's driving in the 24. You have Steve Post 706 in the 25. AJ Marchesi, 325 in a 77. Or actually, I should rather say Marchese. He's going to get mad at me for that. Impact Racing in the 88. And Sally 7Y in the 95. Rick, how's the IVRL roster looking?
Well, with IVR, you've got their captain who's going to be running off in the number 2 car. Well, it's actually the number 12 car. We've got Zert 46 representing the number 2. I'm Batman 294 in the number 10 car. Running the number 14, you've got Nick Goebel. The 16th, you've got a GRC Sniper 90. Running the 19 car is a Rowdy Hawk 18. Running the 47 is a Texas Spots. The 48 is by AKA Afraid Snake. KC5 Kane takes out the 51. And Tyler Brown is running the 73 car tonight.
And I would be amiss as well if we don't mention our substitutes, but my goodness, a moment here as, oh my goodness, the 4 still wrecking of Norway Fire 19. He bounced off the turn 4 wall and ended up spinning it across the grass and nearly just wiped out another car. But I do want to mention the substitutes. Actually, you know what? Norway Fire 19, he's in this race for Days of Thunder tonight, so he's no longer a substitute. Extreme Sporter 60 is a part of that substitute roster. And Cassett Jones 304 in the 21, Days of Thunder as their substitute. How about the IVRL substitutes?
Substitutes for IVRL WB in the number 8 is going to be Tough to Pass, and then the number 41 is going to be Rubber Ducky. It's interesting to see, WB, I think this is the first time that I've personally seen a team using all 3 substitutes in their roster, with Norway Fire, Extreme Sporter, and Casey Jones all taking the starting lineup positions. So for the viewers at home, when you take a look at these rosters, just keep in mind the 4, the 17, and the 21 are going to be out there on track for Days of Thunder.
And we'll figure out the cars that won't be there. But overall, regardless, 20 cars will be on the track when we take the green flag. But the question is, and Rick, you've had the opportunity of calling many races now here in the Fast Family League Showdown. What do you feel is the most important part here coming into Fort Worth, Texas, into this race? Is it getting this position done in the first stage, or is it really setting up for the end of the race when it matters?
It's been my absolute privilege to call many of the 19 races that have been completed so far in this, the greatest tournament in racing. But WB, Texas poses the challenge that many drivers can't anticipate in the first 15 laps of a run, and that's going to be tire management. Being fast in these first few laps is going to be wildly important for these drivers, but the tires will shred to the cords if they're not careful. We mentioned turn 4 being that hot spot. As these cars start to get loose, I'm expecting to see cautions just before pit windows coming out of Calamity Corner 4.
And one thing to mention before I hand it back over to Worm is the fact, too, this is the first time this week, and overall in the first round, we are seeing Texas. For me racing at SXRL, at least we got to see a Charlotte race before we went. Unfortunately, none of these guys driving here tonight have had that opportunity. All you've had is practice. I'm not really sure if both sides have practiced together. So now, once you hit the track, everything that you've prepped for has to come to plan. But it all really does start here in qualifying. And I am eager to see who gets pole here, Worm.
Yeah, most definitely. We saw a lot of fast ones moving it, and we've got Slide Job winding down the counter right now. But you also saw a lot getting real squirrely going through 3 and 4. So if they're that squirrely going into 3 and 4, it possibly, if they don't keep it under control, watch those tires, it's going to be a whole lot worse going into the pits. They maybe wind up in the dry oval.
And right now, looks like Slide Job's still going around. The timer should be going off in a moment. You'll see it on your broadcast screens, and actually, we may see it here in a second. Not exactly, excuse me. Stream Sporter hits the inside wall, and in fact, he is just disconnected, so that is interesting. You'll see these cars all form up together in one line up the banking. Right now, these guys patiently waiting, and we will have a race relatively soon at Texas. But I do want to mention one more thing here, Rick. You think about Texas in real life. Obviously, we know here in the game it's going to be loose. Turn 4 is going to be an issue, but you see cars effective in a draft, nose to tail. In real life, this is relatively more of a spread out race, which makes me lead to the question, if you save the tires and you have it towards the end, will we see this race get spread out through stage 1 and stage 2?
We're going to see this race spread out fantastically in a long green flag run. And I think towards the end of the third stage, we're going to see that high line getting a lot of action. Tires start to wear. Drivers don't want to put so much stress on the wheel. And you'll see the best tire managers out at the front at the end of a green flag run. The big if in that in that prediction, WB, is going to be, will we get to a long green flag run? Multiple times in this showdown, we've seen a couple of races littered with cautions in the first 2 stages and no chance for these drivers to express themselves for more than 10 laps.
As we see, qualifying is just coming to an end. We'll have the pole sitter here for you in a moment, which indeed, to me, that's no surprise. AKA Freight Snake 4 will be on the pole. Randy Hitshaw will roll off second. So for IVRL, that is a very good start. It looks like starting third will be Tyler Brown, fourth will be Nick Goebel, and rounding out the top 5 will be Texas spots 1, 2, 2. So for IVRL, this is a very good start, getting the key track position.
A fantastic start indeed. Worm, I'm looking at this starting lineup. IVRL has had a lot of fast drivers so far. Days of Thunder up against it early as far as track position is concerned, but it's an unpredictable race. As all the previous races before, I'm ready to get this thing started. I'm itching and my nerves are unbelievably off the charts. I can only imagine what these drivers feel like. Worm, that green flag is just a few minutes away.
Yeah, what you saying, what you're feeling like, man. I've been hearing them all week. They've been talking about it. Their nerves have been racked because nobody wants to be the one that makes that mistake. Cause they're hard on each other in IVRL, but they're hard on each other in a good way. And Days of Thunder, man, I'm pretty sure Dowdy, he probably runs a pretty good tight ship with that crew. But it's going to be interesting to see, when the green flag drops, who's going to go where.
Now, I have to ask both of you guys because yesterday, I'm not sure if you were aware, maybe Rick, you're more aware because I believe you were calling a race yesterday. But the Fast Family Showdown, or rather the Fast Family Racing League and the Fast Family Showdown, had a very good battle with GSRL that came down to a 4-point differential. Could we see another close race here tonight at Texas in terms of the point standings?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the only reason I say that is because Texas is that track where, how do I put this politely? Only the most skilled drivers are really going to shine here because it's that difficult of a track. And who knows, it could be an incredibly tight contest in the latter stages of this race, but it all depends on if we get long green flag runs. If we get green flag runs in these first 2 stages, I think it'll be decided before the last 20 laps. I hope that I'm wrong because I love a good contest. But we've got both sides of the spectrum to see. So everybody that's hoping for a close race, everybody that's hoping for a blowout, and all of the fans in the middle should keep their eyes peeled to see how this one unfolds.
Indeed, I'm going to have to agree in that response. It's going to be very hard. Obviously, you get a race that the Fast Family Racing League had yesterday against GSRL is very hard to, reenact, I guess you could say, in terms of a close battle when it comes to points. That's no dig at any of the teams racing tonight. I think that it's going to be good racing, but to get something that close, essentially 2 out of 3 races is going to be very, very hard. And you mentioned one point, Rick, which I want to mention to you as well, Worm, for your thoughts. This is a track in particular that puts a huge emphasis on skill. How much skill are you going to have here in the long run, or do you need in the long run? Ultimately, maximize your points and hope that you can stay out of trouble.
Conserve your tires. Conserve your tires. That's the only way you're going to be able to make it last. But I don't see too far, and I hate to say it, but I do not see too many green flag long runs going in this track. Just because 3 and 4 will eat you up in a heartbeat.
It looks like they're getting the lobby ready to go.
Thank all the fans for joining us this evening. We thank you for your patience. Get on your social media. Get ready to blast it out. Twitch.tv/WormRider38024 is where you can catch tonight's event. Let your friends and family know it's the 20th of 21 races. So it's the penultimate race in the opening round of the Fast Family League Showdown. We're about to go green. We're all excited.
Rick, I do want to take one more point as well in terms of emphasis. When we come into this race 19 right now is currently going on. Obviously, this being race number 20. I do want to make a reference of the winners that we've had right now, points wise. Team SXRL holds that coveted 1 spot for the moment, has to survive 3 more races in order to get a bye into the second round. He has 421. eSpark sits at 411. Also, I don't mean to interrupt, but Ford, I'm going to need another invite, please. NNR is at 409 in 4th. NOAR is at 408 in 5th. AGA is at 401 in 6th. AECS is at 390 with 7th. OMA is in 8th with 380. However, that's an asterisk mark due to a team forfeiting. UNBD is at 376 in 9th. And AAA and AHF is in 10th with a 369. And from there on out, basically the reason why I've referenced 1 through 10 is because when you really starting to see how this all fades out, Rick, teams get reseeded. They have to face each other going to the next round. So some teams after tonight can start to figure out who their next opponents are going to be.
It's going to be incredibly challenging in this next round because a lot of these drivers are not only friends with each other, but they race with each other. So they're going to know exactly who they're facing. Next round is the road course round. So it lends itself to an entire usage of a driver's skill for the entire duration of the race. And not only are these drivers going to need to use skill, but they're going to need to use their utmost left and right turning skills combined with tire and fuel management. So I think this next round is really going to weed out the good teams from the great teams. But before we get to round 2, green flags coming out at the end of round 1. Yeah. And already we've got some action, boys. Drivers up against the wall, and it looks like we might have had a terrible start here. Interesting to see what they're going to do.
Yeah, you've already got cars hitting off that wall, turn 3 and 4 we was talking about. So nobody went down, so I guess they're still going to roll with it green.
You have to remember there is a rule on the first lap, of course, it yells. Now I'm still loading in for the record. You have to have so many cars spin on that first initial green flag lap. But you have to wonder how much longer will they be able to keep it clean for?
They're still turning laps around here. A couple drivers might be having connection issues. For some of these drivers, for me in particular, no one's moving. So let's see if we can refresh this. But it looks like so far these drivers have spread out early in these opening laps. They're headed nose to tail, single file around these corners. So they are heeding the cautions of their fellow drivers. They're taking it very gingerly in these opening laps.
Indeed, you look at Taylor Brown right now in the second spot. He's trying to catch AKA Afraid Snake, but you see Randy Hinshaw behind. Early on, Rick, what we're starting to see is some of these guys that have tighter setups prevailing for the moment, but it all matters on the kind of angles and cuts you take into the centers of these corners. And that's what makes the 48 really a good car out in front. But these guys behind, they're trying to hang on to the draft and try to maybe work their way around for the lead. Of course, though, you're going to need some draft help to do so.
The draft is going to be wildly important as it is a very fast racetrack. The 48 could also be playing the role of the hare. You see the 73, the 12, and the 47 are right up his rear trumpet trying to get some sort of run into the third corner, but he's holding his own quite well. The only question I see later in this run is AKA Afraid Snake going to have to make up for burning so many resources at the front of this track. Challenge to the outside. Worm, the 73 of Tyler Brown, trying to pass his teammate for first place.
Yeah, them four right there, they constantly are at it with each other in IVRL. So they're more than likely toying with each other right now, which I want to see some Days of Thunder get up there and toy with them, because after the race last night between Fast Family and Game Fuel, man, that it's gonna be hard to top that one.
I do want to say this right now for Days of Thunder. They've already had one car disconnect, and that's Blitzkrieg in the 18. So they are already a man short early on in this race. If you're IVRL, you have to be licking your chops right now because this has been an utter perfect start. A lot of Days of Thunder guys like Dowdy 201 already has damage. Extreme Sporter 60, his car is destroyed. And you look farther back through the field, including the 22, a lot of cars torn up in that first lap incident. And there's still a very, very long way, Rick, to go here in this first stage.
WB, the top four is all IVRL. The fifth place car is the 88 of Impact Racing, first car there for Days of Thunder. Scrolling through this field, it seems that IVRL has figured out the quick formula up until they just come out of that second corner. They were running nose to tail and really, really pulling away from the competition. Behind Impact Racing in the 88, that looks to be the four car of Norway Fire. So fifth and sixth place currently being held by Days of Thunder. The first stage hasn't been lost just yet in these opening 8 laps, but Days of Thunder need to make a comeback. IVRL starting to pull away. Worm, the 73 of Tyler Brown, now has a half-second lead out of the second corner.
Well, I easily can see Tyler Brown walking away from this pack. I mean, he is fast when it comes to nearly any speedway, especially Texas. And somebody went to the grass. Missed who that was.
Looks like Texas spots there that went through the grass. By the way, I do want to make a correction. Right behind that 88 is KC5 Kane for IVRL. So really, IVRL having 5 cars in the top 6 early on. Actually, I really say 6 cars in the top 7. But we're starting to see it really get spread out. And that little loose incident there, 4 spots, to help this field out just a little bit.
WB, the 88 of Impact Racing, is now getting to the inside of the 47 in the first corner. Texas Spots now losing 4th place, and Impact Racing now creeping up into this lead pack. IVRL needs to look behind at the CI Cincinnati 88 Camaro. coming through that third corner. The 47 of Texas Spots is still hanging tough on the outside, but now here comes another that looks to be the 51 car of KC5 Kane for IVRL. The 48 and the 88 and the 47 take a trip through the grass on this 11th lap of the competition. So 40 to go in the first stage and already some action. Days of Thunder up against it, Worm.
Yeah, it's it's already going to start being an interesting race. I mean, you've got them already trying to go 3 wide through 2 and 3. And you don't want to be 3 wide going through 3 and 4 because somebody's going to slip. I mean, and there they go again. You've got one
there
spinning.
It is. The 24's around. Worm,
Into
the 14
the pit.
of Nick Goebel's around.
As soon as I said it.
It looked like Firefighter 1 that hit the outside wall, and Nick Goebel just had an incident that was reminiscent to Mark Martin at Michigan many years back. He hit the opening of the wall, thankfully in his hood. Obviously here in NASCAR heat, he's going to continue, but a scary, and I mean scary wreck that will likely bring out our first yellow here of the evening, and indeed it does.
One of the Ally Chevrolets also takes a trip through the grass, WB. The 4 of Norway Fire's gone around in the first corner. That's not the 25 of Stevie P, who's loose out of the fourth corner. Yellow flag is going to be out on this lucky 13th lap of the race. That looked like the 48 of AKA Afraid Snake that was tumbling through the grass. So already 13 laps in and the first caution comes out. We see Captain in the number 20 Camry. A big heads up to the captain for being our pace car driver tonight. A lot of these drivers, not even at 12 laps into this race, losing control out of the fourth corner, and 3 retirations already, gentlemen. You mentioned the 18 of Blitzkrieg was out for Days of Thunder. The 10 car of I'm Batman has now retired. That's an IVRL driver. And behind him in the number 9 UniFirst Camaro, that's Crazy Kill of 5693. So unfortunately, those 3 not finishing this race. 17 drivers remain, 15 laps into this first stage, Worm.
Yeah, like we talked earlier, if you ain't going, there ain't going to be very long green flag runs. And I mean, both teams combined are down a total of 3 players. So, I mean, if turn 4 don't get you, if the walls, the tires don't get you, the server is going to get you. I mean, it constantly works against everybody in this whole league, and that's been one thing a lot of people have had issues with is the server. But I mean, it's how the cookie crumbles when you come into this.
Well, you had to race almost a perfect race to have a chance at getting the bye over SXRL. Obviously, that one lag out for 10 for right now for IVRL that has a lot of drivers up in front may not exactly keep it. But Rick, we're getting ready to come for our first pit stops here under yellow. This is where I think we start to see the race change a little bit. Obviously, now you can get away from those default setups just a little bit, and we may start seeing some better handling race cars come the second green flag run here.
Up the tire pressures, up the wedge, and fill it full of fuel, WB. 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles and a tank full of high-octane Sunoco race fuel is just what the crew chief ordered for each of these sick drivers that think they can take on Texas in a terrifying way. 16 laps into this one, the driver's going to come down, and I don't suspect anybody would be brave enough to go 2 tires on this particular pit stop.
Not this soon. I mean, we already seen it. But then again, you know, averaging 15 laps a run, and tires can hang out 15 laps. But the chance you do that, you're going to go 30 and you're going to go the max run on it. So, I mean, I'd easily go with Ford, fill it up, and run it again.
It looks like the 73 was the first car out. Randy Henshaw comes out second, but I do want to take note. I'm not sure if he was on the lead lap. He may have been a lap down, but the 4 car of Norway Fire 19 has stayed out on the racetrack. Unless he's the lucky dog or perhaps, you know, a wave around. This is not looking good at the start of the field. And actually, you know what? They're going to wave him around the pace car now. So it looks like he perhaps may have been our lucky dog. What that means is that they'll restack up towards the front of the field. Now we get to see an interesting restart in about a lap and a half or so. Like, You gotta wonder if you're the 73. What are you doing here on the restart, Worm?
Just sit and wait. I mean, patience. Don't get in a rush. Your team's in some of the top 5 spots behind you. They shouldn't be fighting for that first spot, but they'll kill me later. I know how some of those guys' egos are, and they'll probably be fighting each other for that front spot.
Indeed, we saw him race early on, and Rick, I do want to mention in the pits as well. We mentioned AKA Freight Snake, who started on the pole. Well, he now was our biggest loser in the pits as he came in that 4th position, and it looked like he lost 3 spots, perhaps having to repair some damage.
Damage is going to be a key factor in who wins the race off of pit road. You see a couple of these guys at the front so far squeaky clean. It's going to be the 73 and the 12. Randy Hinshaw in the 12, Tyler Brown in the 73. Both drivers piloting their machines for IVRL. So I'm very excited for this restart and to see what these two do at the front.
It looks like they're going to go around one more time. Yeah, indeed. I think they're going to fight it. We saw it early on, Worm, where IVRL was not scared, especially Tyler Brown, to make a move for the lead. I think that's exactly what we're going to see, is indeed they are, as I mentioned, pacing one more time. Now, you got to wonder as well, and Worm, I want to ask you this. Obviously, you got to do some practicing with these IVRL guys earlier. When you look at this fuel window and strategy, would it perhaps be beneficial right now to be saving a little bit of fuel and trying to maybe cut this down to 1 or 2 stops?
Yeah, you've got, probably by the time they go green, you're going to be sitting right around 32 laps for stage 1. So, I mean, if they can run even if they do 17, just play it easy. I mean, play it easy on your tires. Don't drive it hard. Don't dive. I mean, don't fight with your teammates for a position if you don't need it. You know, work is one and win is one.
Looks like we are getting ready to officially go green this time, as Captain, our pace car, is getting ready to dive it into pit road. Indeed, he does. And we are about to go green as Tyler Brown hits the box. Green flag back out of Texas, Rick.
Green flag once again, the 73 of Tyler Brown leading his teammate, the 12 of Randy Hinshaw in that Advanced Auto Parts Mustang, nose to tail coming through that first corner. Still 2 by 2, 3 rows deep out of 2. That's going to be the 51 car peeling up right behind them. The 73 of Tyler Brown with a mirror full of Advanced Auto Parts. And so far, it's a small gap to the 51. That's KC5 Kane, the 3rd driver for IVRL. And then in 4th in that maroon 88 Cincinnati Camaro, it's Impact Racing. Clean through the first lap, WB 3 wide for 5th, and they're starting to get dicey.
Indeed, they are 3 wide, but then 88 trying to hold it down low. Indeed, he's going to clear. Here's AKA Freight Snake side by side, but that outside down the backstretch, getting a stronger draft. Again, you want a drafting buddy. Now AKA Freight Snake's going to have it, as he'll move up into that 6th position. Now expect it really throughout most of this field to get single file, as, my goodness, a car mowing the grass. I believe that was the 22. Was 17 the wall, 24. They're wrecking into turn number 1.
Wall full of race car Worm. The 24 firefighter still trying to stay off the wall. The race stays green so far. They will race it back to the line if there's a yellow. 17 manages to get around the 24. That 17 car belonging to Extreme Sporter and the 24 belonging to Firefighter. Both Days of Thunder teammates. Worm, this is the exact opposite of what Days of Thunder wanted to see.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I ain't saying nothing on anything because it's still early. A lot of people can lag out, but both teams have got to, be patient. I mean, that's one thing you always say about this track is patience, because you get in a rush, you don't check up, you slide up, you go too fast, you're going to wipe the whole field yourself, and you're going to hurt your team, that's not yourself.
Oh my goodness, there's a much more cars pile into each other, Rick. I do want to ask you, maybe you saw, but what happened to the 88 there coming to the line? I'm not sure if a car hooked him right or maybe a controller died. You watched him go from 5th to about maybe 12th position, and wow, it looks like we have a couple cars staying out here as they've opened up the pits.
Are staying out indeed. In fact, you can see it's about the top 5 that are staying out, WB. The 73 of Tyler Brown, the 12 of Randy Hinshaw, those top 2 racing for IVRL. Behind that 12 Advanced Auto Parts Mustang in the number 7 Brant Camaro is Dowdy. He's the team captain for Days of Thunder. Behind Dowdy in the number 16 is GRC Sniper 90, and behind Sniper in the 14 car is Nick Goebel. By my count, WB, 4 out of the top 5 racing for IVRL that did not pit.
It's an interesting strategy because tires here mean everything, but obviously these IVRL guys want to try out the strategy early on, and I think this is a huge opportunity if you race for the Days of Thunder Racing League to try to get some positions. You see the 88 right now coming off the pits behind the 19 car of Roundy Hawk 18. You can try to make that track position back up by having those fresh tires, which makes me ask this question to you now, Worm. Are we going to start seeing that middle line and outside line start to come into play?
It should, because, I mean, it's going to start wearing down some rubber there. But at the same time, like you had said something earlier about the chances of them taking 2 tires, or not even, or I take that back, not even pitting, is a simple fact. They're averaging cautions, every 10 to 12 laps. So they possibly could be waiting on another caution to do that pit and let the back half get up to the front. It puts both teams together. So it's going to be interesting to see how everybody pulls this out and works together as a team.
I'm incredibly interested to see how this restart unfolds. 2 of the top 10 drivers racing for Days of Thunder, the number 7 of Dowdy and the number 88 of Impact Racing in the Cincinnati Camaro back there for Impact Racing, and Dowdy in the bright red number 7 Brant Camaro on the inside line. Those are the only 2 that race for Days of Thunder that did not pit. The 88 is the only one of those 2 drivers that did come down pit road, and if so, does he have 4 fresh tires, and how will these 2 Days of Thunder drivers manage to stick the challenge to IVRL? Coming to the line here, it's going to be about 27 laps to go. Pace cars peeling off, WB.
Indeed, as we are back and the green flag is out. Tyler Brown getting a big jump over Randy Hinshaw. Let's see if these IVRL guys work together to get down to the bottom of the zone. The 22 hits the inside wall. He has solo spun, so that should not bring out a yellow. Don't know what happened there. DHG Anchorman just ended up spinning, but you look back up into the front right now, Tyler Brown in the lead. But he is getting a whole bunch of mirror as the 48 of AKA a Freight Snake is making up ground quickly.
Yeah, we just got an update from out of repeat where the other race just winded down with ENEA taking the win. So they punched their ticket into round 2.
And it looks like right now these fresh tires prevailing as a Freight Snake to the outside of turn number 4, side by side for the lead. Push him back up in front, AKA a Freight Snake to the lead. And now he's going to clear as the caution has come out.
Caution comes out on the racetrack on lap 28 of 52 in this first stage. You saw the 22 was slow. You saw another driver slow coming out of the pits, and I don't know what happened, WB, but the caution comes out for, I believe, a 3rd time in this stage. Certainly some strategy is going to kick up here, but Days of Thunder really needs to get it together, because right now Dowdy in the 7 and Impact Racing in the 88 have been the 2 major players of their 8 remaining drivers.
They've been getting the track position And that's the key thing. But two guys, as we proved back in the SXRL race, isn't going to make the difference. You need to be up there and be consistent. But luckily for Days of Thunder, there is some time left here in this first stage. You've got to try to set yourselves up now. But as we just saw, if you're going to set yourself up, it's not staying out or taking two tires. You have to take four. And an interesting call here, by the way, Rick. 48 is not ruled the leader. I'm going to put him behind Tyler Brown in second. I thought he beat him to the line, but they say he didn't.
Well, pit strategy might dictate that as they come out. Certainly, these two drivers are teammates. They are racing, not against each other per se, but you can tell they want to beat each other. The number 7 of Dowdy has been the party spoiler, carrying the standard right now for Days of Thunder, trying to get his nose between both of those IVRL race cars, sandwiched between two IVRL race cars as well. So far, Dowdy sees the red mist in that number 7 Brandt Camaro, and he is slowly creeping his way to the front. Keep your eye on the 7 to see if he pulls any strategy to get around these guys down pit road.
Yeah, I see number 7 being the one to actually split that IVR little party they've got up front. Him being the one to split it up. But what sacrifices is it going to be? Because one person can't win a whole race, especially when it's coming down to team points.
And we're seeing a couple guys stay out again, and the Texas spots now as well as the 19 staying out. But the 74, again, I keep on questioning. I'm very surprised that he was ruled the leader. That's what the officials ruled. That's the end of that story. But now I'm eager to see what happens here, because IVRL looks like they're going to have more cars up in front as the 22 now finds his way into the pit stall. But let's see the race off of pit road. 17 getting a good run here. But obviously, the first car is going to be Tyler Brown, followed by our pole sitter of a Freight Snake by a mile. It looks like, in fact, it's going to be 1 through 5, yet again, IVRL cars.
Out of pit road now, you see the 21 ahead of the 7. That looks to be Casey Jones in the 21 for Days of Thunder. You see the 7 of Dowdy coming out of pit road now, and then the 14, that's going to be an IVRL driver coming out. So these guys are going to get stacked up behind Captain here. At the front, you're going to notice it's going to be the 47, the 19, and it looks like the 73 getting ahead first, and they're going to be the top 3 when this race gets back under green. Those 3 drivers racing for IVRL, the 47, the 19, and the 73 respectively. But as you go through the order, Afraid Snake coming up in 4th, Randy Hinshaw in 5th. In 6th place, you have the 16 of GRC Sniper 90. No, it looks like in 6th you have the 88 of Impact Racing. So the top 5 WB IVRL drivers.
Indeed, that's why it's going to look interesting. I'm eager to see how they line everything up, because there was a couple tight battles out of pit road. But we should be seeing the green flag come out yet again this time. And Warren, now I have to pass it to you. What are we thinking here coming to this restart? We saw last time out, staying out did not work out. This time there's only 2 cars that stayed out. Could it be trouble for the 19 and the 47?
When they take off, they're going to run into that first curve. But I'm going to honestly say, as bad as I hate to say it, that they're going to probably pit here in the next couple of laps. They may just be holding spots right now for IVRL in case something happens.
Well, the green flag is back out, Rick, in that 47 of Texas spots. Getting a good start, and interesting enough, the 19 also got down, but I would expect it to get racy here as they come off of turn number 2. Expect that 48 to start making some moves here as they work into turn number 3.
20 laps to go in stage 1, this time by 47, 19, 48, your top 3, 73, 12, 4th, and 5th. Sitting in 5th in the 88 car. That's going to be the highest ranked driver for Days of Thunder so far. The 7 of Dowdy shuffled behind. You see one car coming out of pit road now that looks to be, no, that's Captain, excuse me, the pace car. But now 2 by 2, 2 rows deep. These 4 drivers, all teammates for IVRL. The 88 of Impact Racing with wide eyes. He's now trying to get a piece of the action as the leaders, not only are they teammates, but they are battling each other for first. 19 to go.
Yeah, these guys up front, they're going to fight it out. And like I said, he's up there somewhere. I thought he was, but Dowdy, unless I'm looking at the wrong car, but he's going to be the one that keeps that IVR party from, you know, really breaking loose.
Right now, as they work into turn number 3, Rowdy Hawk still in the lead. But here comes AKA Afraid Snake. He looks high. Now he looks low. The 48 getting some help from the 77. And oh man, Randy Hitshaw had to really lift, but put the 48 out to the lead yet again here in Texas. But do not look back, because I'll tell you what, these cars are starting to pick it up, as well as GRC Sniper, who's starting to come into the picture. In fact, we're seeing a bunch of IVRL cars in this top 10. The first Days of Thunder car right now, and I believe he's back in 8th, is Extreme Sporter 60. So this is looking to be a very good start to stage 1 yet again for IVRL.
16 and a half laps to go as they bomb down the backstretch. WB IVRL handily dominating the first stage. They get nose to tail, they get speed, and now the Texas temperature begins to turn up for Days of Thunder. They're going to need to make a big march to the front, but be not afraid. Behind Impact Racing coming up in that bright red Brandt Camaro is the number 7 of Dowdy 201. So when these two get hooked up together, expect to see a lot of noise from Days of Thunder. Worms, so far, it's all IVRL, but they still continue to race each other at fantastic speeds.
Yeah, it's like I said, I'd love to see more Days of Thunder get up there and, you know, give them guys a run for the money. But before the race, Randy told them all, he said, you know, let's do it as a team. But the egos with these guys, I see it every weekend with them. They are going to race each other. If they was the only team on the track, they would fight each other for those top spots and take a chance at putting each other in the wall just to get that first spot. They are just that competitive.
Well, right now they are side by side for the lead in turn number 3. Afraid Snake still at the edges. Oh, you talk about getting competitive. Randy Hitshaw gets moved up the track by the 16 of GRC Sniper. Now he's got a mirror full of Texas spots. This battle for the lead, Rick, is continuing to get exciting, because I'll tell you right now, it really looks like Tyler Brown in that 73. Not only did he just go to the lead, but he looks really, really fast.
Lucky number 13 laps to go, this time by in the opening stage. That is the 73 of Tyler Brown, who makes contact with the outside wall. So does the 48 of Afraid Snake. And these guys, and there's already a car going down the front stretch grass. The tires are screaming for mercy. These cars are loose, and there's no more grip out of that fourth corner. Expect these drivers to be very, very ginger on top of their wheels. The 48 now with a mirror full of 16. WB, the cars are loose, and now the excitement gets turned up. How much longer can they last? Will they race these final 12 laps on these tires?
I would like to think they will, but I'm not quite sure. And I'm also, maybe just on my end, seeing a little bit of lag spikes left and right. That could also come into the picture. But you see Afraid Snake in second. I think he'll be good on the tires. But the real question comes to the guys that stayed out. For example, the 47 and 19, they're doing a good job holding their own in the draft. They may burn that right rear or even right front if they're running very tight, very quickly, Worm.
Yeah, they trying to work in one up top to get by the 48. But, I mean, it boils down to the, you know, they're going to race their own team. I mean, you'll see it. And that's just the, I guess, the breed of competition you have in this, you know, this whole tournament. Teams are fighting amongst themselves trying to get a win when they should be working as one to get the win.
10
And
laps to go as the leaders cross the line. You just see the 12 of Randy Hinson getting around that 48, but in a very sideways fashion. The 12, 48, 16 glued nose to tail out of the second corner, and the 48 has been slipping back, WB. Look at the cars dive down to the inside. There is the international signal for I'm coming down pit road, and the 16 gets into the barrier, into the third corner. He's now up on the racetrack. This is wildly dangerous. He manages to get back down to the apron. Brett's held tight. That's GRC Sniper in the Fraternal Order of Eagles Camaro, now coming down pit road at a high rate of speed. We hope he didn't get a speeding penalty after losing valuable seconds in turn 3. WB, we mentioned it at the top of the show. It's a dangerous pit road entrance.
Indeed, you have to get down underneath that, or rather underneath that white line onto the apron and be careful. But that 16 took it hot, trying to not run over his own teammate, and instead he cost himself. But the question answered: will they make it on tires? The answer is no. But now, what strategy do you play with single-digit numbers left in this stage? Do these guys try to set themselves up maybe for stage number 2, or are they playing the game right now to all race against each other and battle for the win here in stage number 1?
It's less than 9 laps left, and you can see the 16 car was in pit road for a wildly long time. Lots of damage on the front end, a potential pit road speeding penalty, and those are the first signs of weakness from IVRL. They are human after all, WB, and there are some cracks in the mold. Can they hang on for these remaining 7 or 8 laps?
Well, that's a great question. The other question is, too, the guys that are still on the racetrack, how much farther can they go is the ultimate question. See guys like the 88, I do not believe he's pitted yet. This is going to be very interesting. But back up in the front, the 73 is setting the tempo. He has the 12 of Randy Hinshaw right behind, as well as AKA Afraid Snake. I think this is going to be the battle for the win here in stage number 1 when things wind down.
We see the 22 getting loose out of the second corner. The 73 got into him. The 22's bottlenecking. Hinshaw's in the wall. Hinshaw hits the wall after making contact with the 22 car. That 22 is being driven by DHG and Showman, and that's a Days of Thunder driver having trouble getting out of pit road. Hinshaw losing value.
Got him crazy in the
22's
front.
into the 12. 19's in the wall. Through a 73 flying through the air. Huge crash on the front stretch. We haven't yet hit 5 laps to go. This is going to bring out a caution in spectacular fashion.
Oh, this benefits Days of Thunder guys if they stayed out, and IVR short pitted. But the 4, I have no idea what happened. I think he hit the wall for turn number 4, perhaps. Ended up maybe spinning the vehicle, and his car never got ghosted, and all of a sudden you saw the 73 go right through him. And the big one, which I never thought we would see at Texas, except on a restart, ended up happening as the 4 now dives it down into the pits. And I'm looking for captain, but they haven't released the captain yet.
Drivers going slow. Pace car's not out on the track, WB. 22 of Antronin just languishing on the inside of the backstretch, and the 22 is now coming back up onto the racetrack on the low side of 3. I don't know what game is being played right now. Car spinning out of turn 2. The yellow must be out as the remaining 17 competitors make it to a slow pace, but certainly a lot of uncertainty. Captain finally moving at the pit road entrance.
Yeah, I think our pace car was getting some ice cream or something. At least he didn't lag out.
Well, you know what I think would happen there? I'm just about to say, I think he was waiting for the drivers to wrap back around, and because of the yellow coming out, they never quite did. They were slowing down, waiting for the pace car. And that was perhaps a minor miscommunication, but they're staying out right now. But imagine pits are going to open next time by. The captain's catching on up to lead these guys back around to the pits. I mean, that's just a rough situation there. I don't know what happened, but what I do know is Days of Thunder I guess you could say not purposely because it wasn't. They kind of do benefit off of this because you mentioned Dowdy in the 88 as well. You know, they could be the guys that kill IVRL's run. Well, now they sit positions 1 and 2, as well as it looks like the 25 is Stevie in P number 3.
WB, it has been a very eventful first stage so far. That time across the line is 4 to go. It'll be 3 laps to go this time by, so I'm interested to see who pits and who doesn't. Days of Thunder could benefit from not coming down pit road, but they would need to hang on for the remaining 2 laps on old, shredded, lifeless Goodyear Eagle tires. So the pit road strategy now is more important than ever. While we're here, a quick shout out to the fans in the chat. NNR Asvel, Femur, Repeat, Hunt, Fatless Dig, Spurl, thank you for joining us. Invite your friends, blast out on social media. The first stage is coming to a close.
I was just about to say, Rick, is I like this move by the 88. I thought I may have been maybe going blind, but no, that's not the case. You have to remember, everyone on IVRL pitted Rick. Well, guess what happens here? They never got their lap back. So there's going to be a lucky dog, but perhaps a smart move here by the 88 and the 7, perhaps stay out and trap everyone a lap down. So when we come back to green, let's say with 1 or 2 laps to go in the stage, everyone that is a lap down right now will be forced to take a wave around, which means suddenly they have a tire advantage.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when they get all this straightened out, who's where, and you know, and Days of Thunder may have done a Houdini on with the pits and actually, you know, played it to their advantage with that caution coming out. So I mean, it's like I said, it don't matter where you start; it's where you finish on the stage, because anything can happen from point A to point B.
Drivers now taking that opportunity to come down pit road, but so far the leaders are staying out. Randy Hinshaw staying out. The 48 is staying out as well. That's being piloted by Afraid Snake. Up ahead, you have Tyler, or up down behind, you have Tyler Brown in the 73. He's going to be coming down pit road, almost coming to an absolute halt before he comes down pit road, possibly making sure that he gives up all the necessary positions. But the 73 of Tyler Brown now not coming down pit road. Look at that. He drives right around that commitment cone. Not sure at all what was going on. Maybe he was trying to bait drivers into joining him, but the 73 now changes his mind and stays out.
What's interesting here is they're giving a lot of drivers their lap back, which makes me start to think, because of that incident and the stage getting ready to wind down, instead of having guys take their wave around, passing everyone through. So this could be interesting here because this should put everyone back on the lead lap. But at the same time, I believe this is going to allow the 88 to win the stage.
Yeah, they keep going around. It's going to be a cluster to see, you know, the final positioning on stage 1, especially it falling under yellow.
Stacked up here, and you can tell there's going to be a lot of action. These drivers have been impatient before, and these drivers are certainly going to be impatient as they try to end this stage with an exciting finish. I'm excited, but I'm also scared because I know what these drivers are capable of when they get space, but we also know what these drivers are capable of when there's no space to be had at all.
Rick, what I just don't understand is why did they just have the drivers slow down as the stage has just come to an end? They ended under yellow. My question is that were these guys assuming they got the wave around and they all kind of jumped, or are they not supposed to? So this is going to be interesting now when they come to pits, how they label it. They may have to take an extra caution lap here when they come back to the green, perhaps.
Certainly some confusion with that last caution, WB. I would bet that they would take those first couple laps of the stage under caution to work out the correct running order. This could take some time, and this is something that none of these drivers anticipated. One of the variables that we didn't know existed until it happened. And this confusion with running order could throw a wrench into the stage 2 plans. It could even throw a wrench into the pit strategy. One thing that this will benefit for sure is Days of Thunder's running position in the back of this one.
Well, looking at the end of stage 1, it's looking like you pretty much got Days of Thunder securing in the top 5.
Steve, you're right. As we're getting ready to come back green, Captain drops off, and they're just going to speed away. And interesting enough, the 22 is our leader at DHG Anchorman. He is our leader through turn number 1. Days of Thunder having the advantage for the moment as they head off at turn number 2. And now Dowdy is looking for the lead towards turn number 3, Rick.
788. That's Anchorman, Dowdy, and Impact in the third corner. 22 and 88 making contact for the second time in this first lap of stage 2. Both of those drivers driving for Days of Thunder. But you see the top 3 right now being held by Days. That 22 of Anchorman holding up the 48 of Freight Snake, and to his outside is the 51 of Casey Kane. And now the 19 is getting behind Casey Kane. That 22 weaving down the backstretch. Boys, keep your eye on that 22. If they can't clear him easily, it's going to be another caution. It's a bottleneck in the bottom of 3 out of this final corner on this lap. 7, 88, 22 across the line. Top 3 still held by Days of Thunder, Worm.
Yeah, that pit strategy they pulled paid off. I mean, it backfired on IVRL, and that was the price they paid. But they're starting to try to get around that 22. But I mean, he's holding it up. I mean, he is actually holding his position.
He is, but he's had a couple issues today in terms of incidences, and you gotta wonder if you're a car behind, how patient can you get? Because you see down that straightaway, he is swerving Irvin left and right. Now the 14 looks to the bottom, he chops the nose, hits the apron, moves up the track, gonna allow the 14 to get on by. It seems like him and the 4 both have had a little trouble holding the line, as now the 22's in the wall. 24 hits the back.
Into the 24.
He won around as well, and you saw that one coming from a mile away. And I believe this should bring out our 4th yellow of the evening. But Dowdy, when he crosses the line, still our leader. Don't see Captain, but they are slowing down. Oh, Captain will collect him in a moment. Indeed, that is our 4th yellow of the evening. And the first one is stage number 2.
It's going to be Dowdy, Impact, and then in the 51, Casey Kane rounding out your top 3. Behind Casey Kane in the 19, that's Rowdy Hawk. In behind the 19 in the number 14 car, you're looking at Nick Goebel. Those drivers racing for IVRL respectively. Behind the number 14, who rounds out the top 5, we are looking at, it looks like the 25 car, if I'm not mistaken. Let's scroll around here. 14's at the end of the list. Behind that 14 car, as he's now coming up to pit road, it is the 25 of Stevie P 0706. So it's not all doom and gloom for Days of Thunder. They've got a couple of drivers in that top 10. Same position as the first stage, but now they seem to have more consistency at the front.
They're spinning again on the trial. 4 and 24.
Lack of control by those 2 cars. That's the 4 car being driven by Norway Fire and the 24 being driven by Firefighter. Those 2 cars for Days of Thunder. So far, not the smoothest start to this race from Days of Thunder, but luckily, it's not halfway over just yet. The comeback is still alive.
Indeed it is, and right now you have that 7 of Dowdy out in front, and I'm eager to get the update of the point situation going into stage number 2. Obviously, we know it benefited this Days of Thunder Racing League, but you have to remember one thing as well. Days of Thunder, yes, you may have got more points here in stage 1, let's say, but when it comes down to stage number 2, you have to stay consistent as Dowdy leads them down to the pits, and we're seeing Tyler Brown stay out. The IVRL guys trying to get that track position back. I do want to go back again to the 7 here. Obviously, you have the beneficiary now of getting these fresh tires, but you need to get some track position and start commanding this race. Otherwise, your chance perhaps of winning may be shot.
WB, the 7 so far has been leading the way for Days of Thunder, but on the other end of the spectrum for the same team, Norway Fire 19, one of the 3 substitutes who have taken position for the starting lineup, goes around in turn 3 again under caution with help from his teammate in the number 24 car, Firefighter 1. So while one end of Days of Thunder is pulling the entire weight of the team at the front, 2 cars for Days of Thunder having rotten luck at the back. IVRL consistently fast at the front, and if they continue the way they have been, it'll be a no-brainer from here on out.
We just saw a moment here, a strategy by IVRL. Obviously, a couple guys stayed out. Well, Texas Spots yet again, not afraid to play the strategy game. He just took 2 tires, so he looks like he will start off second. And now Tyler Brown has dropped onto the apron. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. Oh, you know what it is? He got trapped down as a lapped car, so he's going to have to pit here, which is now relatively interesting because that makes Texas Spots your leader here when we come back to green.
Car 47 with the 7 of Dowdy to his outside, and then the 88 of Impact Racing sitting in third. Fourth place is now the 19 of Rowdy Hawk, and rounding out the top 5 for IVRL is going to be the 51 of Casey Kane. Worm, 2 out of the top 5 Days of Thunder drivers, but so far it's still the 7 and 88 show for Days.
Yeah, Days of Thunder, like I said, I'm glad to see him get up there and actually, mix it up a little bit. Because if one team takes domination, as we've seen, the racing's good, but there ain't much of a waiting on the points. So seeing, especially the way Stage 1 finished, everybody being scattered, it's going to be interesting to see if Days of Thunder didn't actually, kind of take a little bit of a lead off Stage 1.
They're 2x2, 9 rows deep. These guys are ready to go racing once again. It'll be the 47 leading the 7 and 88 out of the 4th corner. We're going to take another pace lap here, so I guess we're not ready to go green just yet. But Texas Spots, I haven't remembered a time during this race where the 47 has been out in front. So it's going to be the first time he's leading the race with 2 very fast Days of Thunder drivers behind him. Hopefully the 47 stays strong, and hopefully the 2 Days of Thunder drivers behind him formulate a plan to get around him. Lots of strategies in play.
Indeed, it looks like now they went an extra lap. I thought Tyler Brown was the lucky dog car. Now they just told him to stop and go behind. But actually, Texas Spots did have the lead, believe it or not, earlier on this race, Rick. Stage 1 in which he stayed out with the 19, but he quickly got shuffled out by Randy Hinshaw as well as Tyler Brown and the 48. But now he placed a 2-tire game. You see the 19, who also played a 2-tire strategy to get up the 4th. This is going to be an interesting restart because this is the first time we've really seen IVRL and Days of Thunder split up since the opening part of this race. We see the 7 try to do his best here to prevail and get out in the front as we have the pace car dropping. Ladies and gentlemen, we are green yet again here at Texas.
47, 7, 88 across that line. Your top 3, WB, 40 laps to go in Stage 2. The 47 car getting out to a lead of about 1 car length over the 7. The 88 behind the 7. 47, 7, 88 down the backstretch. So far, still an IVRL lead. 2nd and 3rd held by Days of Thunder. Texas Spots in the 47. Dowdy in the 7. Impact in the 88. Still your top 3. 19 behind the 88. 12 now coming up. That's Randy Hinshaw in the 12 coming up behind Rowdy Hawk. Now to the inside of Rowdy Hawk down the first corner. 39 laps to go. Worm, that 12 is coming in a hurry.
Yeah, if that 12 comes in, I'm going to be surprised. Don't be too much if you don't see that 48 of Snake somewhere back there chasing them. Because at Stage 1, he started out back towards the back, and he got his way up there to the front in a couple laps. But, I mean, he's carrying the flag for IVRL right now. So let's see if he can bring the whole team with him.
At the front, new leader, car number 7. That's Dowdy leading for Days of Thunder. Impact Racing now in second in the 88. Randy Hinshaw in the 12 coming up for IVRL. WB, arguably that 12, who's now seeing contact from the 14 and the 19 alike. 14 and the 19 having trouble. The 47 of Texas Spots making it 3 wide. Contact out of the 4th corner. 47 into the 19. 47 into the wall. 17's around the front stretch. Cars spinning, a couple through the grass. Now through the dog leg. 3, 4, 5 cars involved. Yellow flags going to fly. And that hot spot. Turn 4. The crux of all our yellows tonight yet again. Caution number 5.
I don't mean to speak down, but I think that accident was 100% avoidable. The 88, he was making a very vicious block, and Randy did a great job as he could to try to lift, but unfortunately the 14 just came from behind and ran him over and moved him up the track, and unfortunately 47 and others were essentially victims of the incident, and it ended up creating a big one off of that exit at turn number 4 for our 5th yellow of the evening. And again, Worm, you mentioned on the top of the broadcast, don't expect too many long green flag runs. Well, with the exception of the one green flag pit stop we saw that made an interesting outcome to the end of stage 1, we're seeing here in stage 2 that they can hardly stay about 5-6 laps green.
Yeah, I mean, we're only 14 laps into stage 2, and we've already had, I believe, it's what, 2 cautions, 3 cautions. So they're averaging like what, 5, 7 laps. I mean, you don't really have to worry about tires much if that's the case. I mean, just follow the pace car around. May have another stage 2 under yellow.
I don't want to put any blame, Rick, again on that incident, but I mean, who would you say would be fault in that situation? The 88 making a vicious block, or is it on the 12 for backing off and not maybe moving the 88? And obviously the 14 had nowhere to go. It was kind of a checkup. I mean, do you blame the 12 and 88 in that situation?
I don't think you can blame anybody in this situation. I'd love to call it just a racing situation. The difficulty is because turn 4 is so much faster than turn 2, relatively speaking, the drivers have much less room for error. I noticed that these drivers get very, very close out of the 4th corner, and their trajectory up to that turn 4 wall is thrown off by just millimeters of error down on that turn 3 apron. So really, I think that crash started at the entrance of turn 3, everybody getting bottlenecked out of 4, and there's just no room when you're hurtling towards that start-finish line at 170 miles an hour.
Aiden, it looks like we're going to have pit stops, and here we go. Guys staying out yet again. It's going to be led down by the 7 of Dowdy. We saw an aggressive move yet again by IVRL to stay out, as it looks like Randy Hinshaw stayed on the track as well as Tyler Brown. We'll see here the race off of pit road. Who will take 4? Who will take 2? 88, the 48, the ones with the first pit stalls, and I'm eager to see here how this race off of pit road looks.
You asked about who the blame was. I tell you who the main factor of it all was. Turn 4 and the track.
I mean, I would agree, but at the same time, I think it's too early to be making blocks like that, as the 88 is the first car out of the pits. 14 followed in second. Now, when we head back up to the pace cars, now the 16, by the way, making his first pit stops here. It looks like, indeed, it'll be 12 and the 73, 1 and 2 when we come back to green. I'll tell you what, since that incident for Tyler Brown, where he unfortunately got caught up in at the end of stage 1, it looked like his race for a moment was falling apart. Now he finds himself back in the front row here, Rick, for this next restart.
Next restart is going to be thrilling indeed because Days of Thunder has something to prove at the end of this second stage. IVRL also needs to prove that there's no cracks in that foundation. Remember, at the end of that first stage, we had a couple IVRL drivers make mistakes coming on pit road and then coming off pit road as well, and it got lots of their teammates trapped a lap down. 33 laps to go as they cross that line that last time, so it'll be 32 to go this next time across the line. If Days of Thunder has anything for IVRL, this is where they need to showcase it. The race is now halfway over, and so far there's no indication that Days of Thunder has a challenge for IVRL. I'm excited to see what this next restart brings to the track.
Yeah,
All
you said not a challenge on it, but they may not on the track, but the points worked in their favor. I mean, so it go any way with that.
Start seeing as it looks like Captain is going to late. Nope, he's going to stay on the track, so we're going to go one more time around. I think we're going to start seeing a lot of changes here in a moment is how long they go green. If they can go a full green flag run, as my goodness, it looks like they're wrecking there towards the back here, pacing. But if they can go a full green flag run, that's where I think the advantage, like it did in stage one, goes to the Days of Thunder cars. But if we're talking short run, if we're talking speed, that's where these IVRL cars have been pitch perfect all day long. So I feel like if you're Days of Thunder to break a challenge, you definitely are going to hope that you don't see too many more yellows here in stage two.
Days of Thunder certainly needs to be smooth coming out of that fourth corner. Many of these cautions involving lots of Days of Thunder cars getting loose out of that fourth corner, which tells you that's where the trouble is. They either need to find a different line or they need to find a new way to cooperate, because when IVRL hooks up nose to tail on a long green flag run, there is no stopping them. This team can no longer be carried by the 7 and 88 and expect to come away with the win. Let's see what this next restart has in store for the drivers. The 73 didn't go. The 73 didn't go, or they're not moving just yet. I don't know if nope, the green flag has not come out. Captain still remains on the racetrack. The 73 giving up positions, and they're 2 and 3 wide under the pace lap, so we might have 1 or 2 more laps of caution as these drivers try to figure out position.
Yeah, something about the 73. I wonder if maybe he was a lap down. They had him drop towards the back still. I'm not quite sure what the ruling was, but I'm sure they have it figured out now. I believe we're going to go green this time. I guess that's what the ruling in question was. You know what the other thing could be, Nick? That the 73 may have been a part of that yellow, and based upon ruling, if you're a part of the yellow, you have to drop to the back of the field coming to the next green. So that could be a reason why they were waiting to see if he was the one dropping back.
Yeah,
I'm looking at this 4-car of Norway Fireback here. He's weaving all over the place, making contact with other drivers. I'm not sure what the 4-car is up to, but the pace car is peeling off. Expect to see some action for giving up position. You saw the 16 getting a grand jump on that restart. And at the front of this one, they're still 2x2, but Randy Hinshaw breaking away to the early lead.
They're just about now, it seems like, ran as many laps under caution as they have green. So I don't know if pit strategy is really going to factor much of anything.
Well, when they have race green, they have been right now. I'll tell you what, Randy is licking his chops because he right now wants to see that side-by-side action behind him. But he better move quickly because look who's in second now, a guy that we haven't really talked about much throughout today. However, you see KC5 Kane right behind in the tire tracks, and here comes the 24 as well, a Firefighter 1, as he looks to the inside, and he's going to move Casey Kane up the track.
That's the highest position that 24 has seen all race long. Firefighter 1 has finally got the energy, and that Exalta Chevrolet is moving to the front. To the inside of the 24, it's the 48 of Afraid Snake now getting in second place behind his teammate Randy Hinshaw. 12, 48, 51. The 51 being driven by Casey Kane, top 3, IVRL. 19 in fourth place, that's Rowdy Hawk for IVRL in fourth. 24 to the high side, 14 to his inside. Nick Goebel to the inside of the 24. And now your top 5, IVRL, as they cross the line on this 23rd lap of competition.
Got a points update.
Slide job if you could.
Sorry about that, a little late, but we have another interesting situation as we saw in the Pure Speed Elite Series race. Here we have another ranked team in an early deficit. Days of Thunder pulling some fuel strategy there at the end, collecting a bunch of points in the top 5 of that stage, leaving Days of Thunder ahead 45-10.
Fantastic update. I don't think anybody saw that coming, but you heard it there. Days of Thunder with a 35-point lead. 45-10 is the score. Just when we thought IVRL had it, Days of Thunder pulling a fast one and literally stealing that first stage when no one thought possible. So WB, the green flag run will be the telltale sign. Look at these guys here. 3rd through 10th, 2x2, 3 rows deep, and now Randy Hinshaw getting moved to the outside in the 12 at the point. New leader, car 51, Casey Kane. WB, what is IVRL going to have to do if they want to win stage 2?
That would actually be incorrect for one moment. Actually, new leader is 48 of AKA Freight Snake 4, who is pulling and hauling the mail, pulling away from Casey Kane. But you look back through this line, a lot of IVRL drivers, but they have to work their way around the 88. But we're seeing the strategy right now for the 12 not working out. But you have to start to think a yellow may be coming soon, Rick, because a lot of these drivers are bundling up single file. And the last time we saw that, we saw a checkup and a major incident off of turn number 4.
It's 23 laps to go. Worm, it's 23 laps to go. Cars are sliding through that infield grass. Sniper in the 16 getting into the wall once again. Drivers having trouble out of the 4th corner. Pit stops just a few laps away. And now the question has to be asked. As a driver, Worm, do you try and stay out on struggling tires and risk crashing, or do you stay out for track position and gamble on a caution, knowing your tires only have a few laps left?
The way it's been playing out so far, I'm just going to take my gambling. I mean, there ain't running very many green flags. So, I mean, you might have to do 5 laps, tires cool down. 5 more, they're going to cool down. Eventually, you're just going to... Worst case scenario, I'd at least take 2.
Well, right now, as we start to see, Rick, is it's still side by side coming off turn 4s. Oh, Texas spots through the grass, but he keeps it alive and continues the momentum. Oh, and it looks like they're wrecking off of turn number 4. 1 car spinning, 2 cars spinning. It's the 24, 73, and 17 all around. The 22 looks like he collected in as well. And we may have another yellows. Now the 4 on the inside wall. But we'll see as they race it back around. AKA Afraid Snake to cross the start-finish line. And I do not see him slowing down. Perhaps not a caution yet.
Just be a 1-car incident, WB. While you were calling that front stretch crash in turn 3, the 19 Auto Owners Insurance Camry of Rowdy Hawk 18, he went around in 3, so positions being lost not only for Days of Thunder but for IVRL. Back at the front of this one, we're looking at driver number 48. That's Afraid Snake, who's leading this race. car still getting loose. That's Stevie in the 25 getting behind the 21 car of Casey Jones. Both of those drivers racing for Days of Thunder. But Afraid Snake in the 48, he's barreling down into turn 3, and as they come around this time by, it's going to be just 18 laps remaining in stage 2. IVRL so far leading these early positions, but again, the end of the first stage was a big upset with Days of Thunder taking maximum points. 22 slow on the high side.
Yeah, that 22 seems he's been having little issues today, so I don't know if his controller batteries or what.
I believe the yellow is out because Captain's working his way out. So I think we had a delayed yellow here, and that's perhaps what could have happened.
Could not come a moment too soon. You saw the 12 of Randy Hinshaw coming down pit road just as that yellow comes out. I don't know if that's strategy or more unfortunate luck for the 12. Only time will tell after this next pit stop cycle. Across the line, the 48 of Frayed Snake taking and controlling that lead, but now that massive lead going to be dwindled to nothing as the field stacks up before this next round of yellow flag pit stops. What is...
Yeah, the 4 is having some kind of issue. I have no idea, to be honest, what the issues the 4 has been having. He's been all by himself all over the place tonight right now. But you look back as they stack the field up, I wonder what's going to happen with the 73, the 12, and others in regards to that pitting scenario. They may say they pitted too early and are going to be forced to start at the tail end. But it looks like the 22, who was on the lead lap when that yellow came out, is getting his lap back. Right now they stay single file, and all of a sudden now, I do want to say this, Worm, now we've had a green flag run, essentially the second longest one of the day. They're going to come down for their final pit stops here of stage number 2. Of course, no more yellows pending. What are we going to expect now that it's anyone's race?
Yeah, it's going to be a complete toss-up because, I mean, you know, you saw how everybody with IVRL running good that first stage and it fell apart at the end. They're running good second stage. They're going to fall apart again. That's going to give, you know, Days of Thunder to capitalize again. And if they pull another 45-10 on it, it's, you know, they got a big hole they're going to have to dig out of.
I agree. Right now, the 48 of Freight Snake, he is going to decline coming down pit road. You see a couple others now getting on the apron looking to come down. So far, no takers. I'm not sure if pit road is open or not, but no takers thus far. Many of this top 10 right now, IVRL.
I think that's the case. They're going to go one more time because you have to remember the 22 mentioned, I believe he was on the lead lap when that yellow came out, so they had to get him back around to catch back up to the field. I think that's the scenario here where they're making sure everyone has a fair chance coming down the pit road that was on the lead lap at the time of caution. But they should open this time, which means we should see about 2 or 3 laps left under yellow during this caution period, which, Rick, then I ask you, how many laps are we looking when we head back green, assuming that's the scenario?
Between 10 and 12 laps, WB. When these drivers get past that 10 lap mark, you can see a lot of pilots are losing control out of that fourth corner, which has been the dangerous corner along this racetrack. Many drivers will put 2 tires on or below that apron, and that absolutely ruins their corner. But of course, nobody wants to let out. Bravely putting their foot through the floorboard and hoping to straighten the car out of 4 does not work for many of these competitors, and that's why you see so much damage out of that fourth corner. When we go back to green, I expect to see hard racing as we've seen in the first stage, but I expect to see these drivers that stayed out and do not take 4 tires to be extra cautious to see if they can turn some fast laps.
Well, these drivers here that did stay out, again, you have to remember these were the guys that went down pit road during the caution period when it first came out. I would have to imagine they're going to have to take a wave around. Looks like the 12 was ruled the lucky dog. They're going to let Randy Hitshaw go on by. So that means a 73 will have to get his lap back. And yet again, I'll tell you what, for Tyler Brown, Rick, just looks so unfortunate because, again, what started off as such a good day looked like he was the fastest car in the field. Well, now it seems like he's had to battle and battle and battle just to even have a chance to get back up to the front of the field.
That 12 car was the fastest car in the field at one point, but now he certainly is up against it, getting trapped by these cautions. And I don't think that Days of Thunder could have lucked out any better by continuing to trap this driver laps down. But no more. One more caution should see the 12 now come around and be on the lead lap. So it's going to have to be skillful driving from Days of Thunder if they intend on hanging on to this lead. They're now on lap 37 of 49 in the stage, so we're getting close to those final 10 laps, and now I think everybody's going to stay out from here on out to end stage 2, but the question is, can they control their hot rods at the end of stage 2?
Indeed, and I'm looking at this lineup right now, and it's going to get exciting because you look 1 through 3 IVRL cars. You have AKA Afraid Snake, Texas Spots, PC5 Kane, but then you have Dowdy in that 7 in 4th. Then rounding out the top 5, another IVRL car of the 16. This is going to be interesting in terms of the top 5. Is, by the way, the 16 being of GRC Sniper. You have the 2 and the 88 as well in that third row. Does Days of Thunder have anything in them here when they come back to green to try to make another points push?
Well, I'm just glad to see that, Days of Thunder is actually giving IVRL, a run for the money to make everything interesting, because you don't want, just like we said earlier, a lopsided race. It's boring, mix it up a little bit. And that's finally what we're getting going towards the part of stage 2. So, I mean, it ain't no telling how it's going to play out.
I'm excited to see how the second stage does play out, Worm. So with these final 10 laps that we're going to race, I'm so glad that Days of Thunder stole that upset, that gave the upset and stole the win from IVRL after IVRL looked so strong. They made me eat my words, and now I'm excited to see what they can produce at the end of stage 2. A much closer competition than we anticipated. It'll be 11 to go this time by, WB.
Indeed, and we're going to come back green this time by. And as I mentioned, AKA Freight Snake will be our leaders. They again finish out doubling up. It's going to be a fierce, fierce battle. Captain in his blue and green number 20 pace car machine gets ready to dive into the dirt off of turn number 4 as he passes the Texas sign. Restart zone in hand, and we are green yet again at Texas. Afraid Snake, a great start. Dowdy, he had to check up and nearly got spread 3 wide as Randy Hitshaw with a run on the restart. But it is IVRL looking good through turn number 2. But oh, look out, the 47 hit the apron, and they nearly all stacked up as they work into turn number 3.
So far, the top 4 being held by IVRL and UC. The 7 of Dowdy now getting into that 4th position, getting behind the 51 of Casey Kane. And Dowdy is making a charge to the front. Afraid Snake now pulling away once again in that 48. He has got the skill and the moves, but it's going to be a long 10 laps to the finish. Let's see if he can hang on. WB, keep your eye on that 7. He's moving up through the pack. That's the 47 of Texas Stops who's having to hold him off, and it's getting intense for 3rd.
It is, as it is side by side. Casey Kane on the inside of Dowdy, but Dowdy getting a strong run off at turn number 4. But the one issue is he has no drafting help. Also, take a look. Looks like we just had a car disconnect. Tyler Brown, oh boy, the 2. That is critical. Kurt has just disconnected. So that's another car for IVRL, which puts it even on the track. 8 cars apiece left in the race. And oh, wait, we have a lot of guys parked. My goodness,
The
what happened
17's
here?
parked as well. The 17's been parked. That's Extreme Sporter
Wow.
for Days of Thunder. The
Number
21 has
4.
been parked as well. That's Casey Jones. The 9, obviously, we saw earlier. The 4 went down of Norway Fire. So the 3 substitutes for Days of Thunder have now been put down pit road. I don't know if that's of their own design or connection issues, but now, as the stage comes to a close, how are these points going to end up, and what outlook are we having for Stage 3? Worm, as I'm going through these retirees, it's the 2 of Zert for IVRL that's down pit road. It's the 17 of Extreme Sporter for Days of Thunder, the 21 of Casey Jones for Days of Thunder, the 9 of Crazy Killa for Days of Thunder, the 4 of Norway Fire for Days of Thunder. I believe that's 4 or 5 cars for Days that are now down pit road. Blitzkrieg in the 18, and the 10 car as well. That's I'm Batman for IVRL. Lot of cars down pit road, Worm. This is going to get interesting.
Well, it just don't look like Texas. Track's the only thing taking Vixton. Because those servers, like we said, you've got to have your team to finish strong. And the server just really just served up another mix up in the points.
I don't know if it's necessarily the server. I think they were parked. But you look back up in front, aka Freight Snake in the lead. Rick, I'll tell you what, his lead is slowly dwindling. We saw him pull away just a little bit. That right now may not be the case, as Texas Spots is starting to reel him back in.
It's going to be 4 laps to go as they cross the line this time by. Across the line, 48, 47, 51. Snake, Texas, Casey Kane, 4 to go in stage 2. 48 leading by a few car lengths, but I believe he's burned his tires, or he's just trying to hold off for the last couple of laps. 47 is now in his wake, and the chase is on. IVRL holding the top 3. It's going to be 3 to go this time by.
F48 looking very strong off of turn number 4, but here comes Texas Spots. At Texas, obviously, what would be his home track, looking very good. He is looking perhaps to take the lead, as he is to the bumper of the 48 of a Freight Snake off 2. The 47 looks high. Now he looks low. Perhaps a battle not so quite, as he tucks back in behind, and now he will go to the inside, but the 48 blocks. Put Spots on the apron, so a Freight Snake will hold it on for a moment as we come to 2 to go, and oh, now Spots hits the wall.
48, 47, 51, 2 to go as they cross the line. You saw the 48 putting a heavy block on his teammate. IVRL still holding the top 3. Dowdy in that red Brandt Camaro sitting in 4th. And what a strong block it was. Could have wrecked his teammate, but luckily Texas Spots held on to the car that got clipped down into the apron. White flag is in the air. Worm, the 48 gets loose out of 4, and he's hit the wall. White flag in the air. 48 hits the apron, and on worn tires, the 47 slides behind him. Top 3 now changing. 47, 51, 7 coming out of 2.
Well, you've got that Days of Thunder one that's steadily staying up there with them. So he's, as he has been the whole race, he's throwing, a wrench in the whole plan for IVRL. But, I mean, I'd watch just to see, if the rest of the team that's left on both of them, who's gonna get up there and help them.
Oh, you come to the end of the stage. Oops, apologies.
No, that's all right, WB. We do come to the end of the stage, as we both echoed at the same time. The 47 of Texas Spots coming away with the Stage 2 win for IVRL. That was a dominant performance by Freight Snake in the 48, but you just saw turn 4 once again reaching out and biting these drivers that test the limits. So IVRL picking up 2 of the top 3 spots at the end of Stage 2, and I'm so excited for these points. Stage 3 just a few seconds away, but after a lot of Days of Thunder drivers lose connection and drop out of the race, certainly this has to be IVRL stage, but they had a 35-point gap to make up after stage 1. That could have been the break they needed, and now it's going to be a dogfight in stage 3.
Indeed, it is going to be a dogfight. And right now, if you're IVRL, you have the number advantage. Just play it safe. Obviously, you're going to make up some stage points. Now you have to race it hard to the end. You know these Days of Thunder guys are going to give it their all to try to make up as many points as they can as we're back to the green flag. It's Texas Spots in the lead with Casey Kane to the outside. But expect Dowdy and the 88 to really start mixing it up because these guys are really the last hopes of trying to make up those points that perhaps this Days of Thunder team is losing. As look at this, 3 wide into turn number 3, a Freight Snake trying to push the 47 up ahead as he moves to position number 2.
WB, I'm seeing a lot of rubber banding out of the 4th corner here. This could be more of those connection issues that plagued these drivers and cost some of them their positions. Worm, I don't know what you're seeing, but I see the 48 just getting into the back of the 47 and a lot of connection issues. Hopefully that's just me.
No, there's rubber banding going on, and I'm watching on Dowdy throughout the back, and it looks like there's a lot of them that's kind of, jerking on the server. So, you hate that happens. You wish everything would be perfect for a perfect race, but unfortunately, you're gonna have these server and internet issues.
Out of the 2nd corner, it's 47, 48, 51, and now look in 4th place, the 12 car being driven by Randy Hinshaw back up there. I can't tell if Randy's gotten back up on the lead lap, but he is certainly once again proving his speed on the racetrack.
Indeed he is, and another car that's slowly striding his way back up as well is Tyler Brown in that 73. They're still going to have a lot of work to do here in this stage, as all this time Dowdy hits the wall. He's going to lose some ground. He'll fall back behind the 14. That'll restack him another time. But one thing we're seeing here in particular, Rick, that we have not seen all day long, the lead pack is one jumbo line. We've seen the pack for the most part today split up, but right now, that's not the case.
I think that's going to be a product of some of these connection issues, but it seems like some of the rubber banding has been calmed down, if just for a moment. Drivers trying to get single file and trying to avoid crashing into each other, and it's working out for the most part. The 48 of a Freight Snake, who dominated that last part of stage 2, currently leading this one, now on lap 113 of 167. The connection issues still prevalent, but not as bad. Worm, this single file is only good for IVRL.
Yeah, and the deficit they had at the end of the stage 1, you've got to work together as a team. They're being aggressive towards each other, which is something Randy has repeatedly told them before this, do not do it. Work together as one. And they're slowly starting to, but, is it going to be a little too late, or, you don't know.
Speaking of deficits, I got points for you.
Commissioner Slide Job.
So, we saw Days of Thunder get out to a lead in that stage 1, but as Worm said, the boys from IVRL got in line and worked their way to the front, and they're going to win stage 2 38-17. So now that brings our grand total. Days of Thunder still leads 62 to IVRL's 48, but it's getting closer.
14-point gap between the leagues now as we come to 52 laps to go in the stage this time by. The 47 of Texas leading Freight Snake in the 48. To the inside of the 48, you have the 51 and the 12 now passing him for position. That's Casey Kane and Randy Hinshaw, respectively. Behind the 48 is the 19 of Rowdy Hawk, 18, and then you see the number 7 Brant Camaro of Dowdy. So the top 5 being held by IVRL once again, but this one still is far from over. The teams separated by just 14 points with 51 laps left in this race.
And as I'm starting to see slowly the rubber banding effect starting to come back just a little bit. You're seeing spots pull away for the moment, but Casey Kane and Randy, they're working together pretty well. It's going to be a matter though, and what Worm mentioned is, these IVRL guys, they have egos. They want to go out there and best each other. But in an environment like this, you have to work together. And if there's any better time to work together, the time is now. This is a team race more than it is an individual race. And right now, they need to figure out how to get each of their guys in line and pull away from the remaining drivers over in the Days of Thunder League. Because right now, the more side by side you do, the more it kills your chances of commanding this race all the way to the end.
Worm, not only does it kill your chances, but it kills your tires. This is the longest green flag run we've seen so far today. These drivers are going to have to manage their resources if they want to be there at the end.
Most definitely. And you see the one Days of Thunder that is still up there is Dowdy. And he is putting on a hell of a clinic for the Days of Thunder League today. So, I mean, go Dowdy.
WB Dowdy is coming up through the field, but so is Randy Hinshaw. He was down, but certainly not out. The 12 of Randy Hinshaw now coming up, and he's in third place behind his IVRL teammates. But the other bright red car in this race, the 7 of Dowdy, still continues to soldier on. Now in fourth, making his way up to third. He's got a whiff of the draft of the 12. They're going to be coming around this time. It's going to be just 47 laps remaining. Pit stops a few laps away. WB, Days of Thunder could use a pick-me-up here. They need to hold on strong so they have a chance to win. Do you see them short pitting?
I don't see them necessarily short pitting, but I would definitely see them trying a strategy to go 1 or 2 laps earlier to make up a little bit of time. As that's on the 47, bounces off the wall just a little bit, but you have to be organized here in the draft line. You have to be careful, and you have to be poised to not make a mistake. And you do have to remember one thing: the last time we did see green flag pit stops, not only did it benefit Days of Thunder for staying out, but you also have to remember what also happened. There was an incident coming into the pits from the 16 car of IVRL, of GRC Sniper, that created an incident in which he went spinning. You have to make sure if you're IVRL to make and that means no mistakes coming down to this green flag pit stop, because again, turn 3 is a challenge, and if you make a mistake, you could likely now ruin the outcome of your race.
Or we mentioned at the top of the show how these drivers are going to get stacked up and have a lot of action in the first 2 stages, but here we are now in stage 3. Our prediction has come true. The drivers are spreading out in the 3rd stage, and the faster drivers are starting to prevail. However, the connection issues still plague a couple of these drivers, and a late race caution could set up any of these teams to steal maximum points if the caution comes out at the right time. Short pitting is now in play, but Worm, I think this first round of green flag pit stops in stage 3 is going to be the most dangerous, as drivers risk crashing trying to come down pit road.
Yeah, it most definitely is. I mean, they're starting the tires to get wore, tempers are getting a little heated, aggravation starts to set in after such a long race. I mean, you've got to control your temper to control your car, because no matter how good or bad your tires are, if you ain't got no control over your temper, you're just going to go in as fast as you can, not think nothing about it, and just screw a whole team instead of just yourself.
Coming up to lap traffic now, that's the 22 who's slow out of the 4th corner. That is a Days of Thunder driver, the 22 being piloted by Anchorman. So now the 47, the 51, and the 12 catching up. Interesting to see how the 22 is going to play this one. He's losing control and high out of the 2nd corner.
And we just saw the 47 also go through the grass, so that gives Dowdy yet another spot. We're still seeing a couple lag surges, so that could be interesting. But now you see the 51. He's to the inside, and suddenly it is a two-car race for the lead. And now you have to wonder, will Randy Hinshaw get out in front? And how many laps do they have until they pit? But this 12 and the 7, they look right now like they're the best cars left on the racetrack.
And that 12 car signaling that is going to come down pit road. The 7 is slowed down the inside as well. So the 7 and the 12 now coming down, as is the 47. The 12's gone around in 3. Randy Hinshaw once again losing control of his race car. And just as he got to the cusp of first place, he's slow on the apron and he's going to lose valuable time. And the 12's gone around again. He hits the wall to the pit road entrance, and now he has to reverse it before he works it back down pit road. Worm, it's a disaster for the 12.
Yeah, the whole IVR team, you know, I saw them practice on that pit road, but it's looking like everything that was practice and green flags just being, you know, thrown completely out the window. So I mean, it's
Oh, geez, another car that just had trouble. The 25 of Stevie PO 706 just did the same exact thing as the 16, and he just pounded the inside wall. He now has a lot of damage, and all of a sudden, we're starting to see more and more pit road errors as this green flag cycle continues.
WB, these are the mistakes that teams could not afford to make. Now you see the 20 of Captain. He's slowly inching out of pit road, trying to avoid drivers getting into him. No caution yet, but stops are cycling around, and we're getting to the end of that cycle. You see the 48 of Frayed Snake getting right up behind his teammate in the 47. Texas stops, clearing to the outside of the 22, who's a lapped car that's not for position. But as the cars cycle back around, Randy Hinshaw finally out of pit road after 26.5 seconds in his stall, trying to repair damage. And now these IVRL cars, the 47 and the 48, getting around the 51 on the outside, all three having lag surges as pit stops end their green flag cycle.
Indeed, we have a new leader. It's Dowdy 201 in the 7 out in front. That pitting one lap earlier ends up prevailing for the moment. But now the question is, AC Kane, can he catch back up on these fresher tires as now the 25 leaves the pits? This is a great move by Dowdy. You just have to wonder, is this track position going to remain beneficial?
22 car is loose. Terrible.
Worm, let's go to that 22 car and see where he's at. That's Angernan now out of the fourth corner. He's wildly loose out of 4. I don't know if this is a tire issue, but that 22 has been running quite ill all night long. Hopefully he maintains the strength to finish this race. At the point, Worm, in the number 7, Brant Camaro, it's Dowdy 201 being reeled in slowly. He hits the apron and he's going to go high out of 4, but this has to be the best chance Days of Thunder has seen yet.
Yeah, 22 is thinking he's going to the pits, so maybe he'll get all that worked back out. Get him on some fresh tires, maybe he'll get it straightened out. It looks like he's actually stopping.
I apologize, I had a little audio lag there. I thought you said WB, but indeed that was Worm that you signaled in. Indeed, the 22 playing over, his day may be done perhaps. That could be the question, or maybe he's having a controller or wheel issue. You look back up in front, the lead closing back down again. Dowdy, he's having that lead start to shrink, Rick.
22 just bit the dirt.
Up indeed, the 22, as you mentioned, called it a day. But you have the 47, the 48, they're starting to make up ground while the numbers for Days of Thunder continues to shrink.
As I'm scrolling through this field now, you have the 21, you have the 9, the 4 of Casey Jones, Crazy Killa, and Norway Fire that have retired for Days of Thunder. Scrolling back through the retirees, the 18 of Blitz has retired as well. The 10 of I'm Batman for IVRL has retired. Most recently, the 22 car of Anchorman is now retired for Days of Thunder. The 2 of Zert for IVRL is in the pits. The 17 of Extreme Sporter, the 21 of Casey Jones in the pits. It's not a good afternoon for Days of Thunder, but their team captain, Dowdy 201, continues to soldier on. I would give Dowdy I wouldn't call it the Hard Charger Award, but I'd certainly give Dowdy the Resiliency Award for today's race. He's led some laps for Days of Thunder, and he's showcased the speed for this team. Now he's got to hold off Texas Spots in the 47 as they come to the line. It's lap 135 of 167.
And we're slowly starting to come back down towards those final pit stops. You know, you mentioned you wouldn't necessarily give him the Hard Charger. I would give him the Hard Charger award because let me tell you something. He really had to work his way back through the field after falling off in that early incident early on in the race, in which he was a victim of, and he found his way back, and he's been consistent. At one point, you have to remember, we thought it was just going to be the 88 that was up there in the top 10 for Days of Thunder. But Dowdy, he's come to life, and I'm sure he may lose the lead here because of disadvantage of tires, but he is going to continue to play the game all the way to the end and try to get Days of Thunder as many points as they can, because right now they're at a disadvantage. They may lose it, but he wants to lose it in style if that's the case.
7 now with a tight lead over the 47 as they cross the line. They now get on to lap 137, and that leaves 30 laps left in this one. 7, 47, 51 as they cross the line now with 31 laps remaining, and Dowdy is holding on strong. How can Texas Spots get around Dowdy?
Patience. Your tires are going to start wearing. We've seen nobody is good at pitting on green flag. So you're just going to wait for somebody's tires to slip, blow, something, then capitalize on it.
It's now 30 laps to go. How do you see the 47 making his way around Dowdy?
Well, I think right now the best spot to do it is in 3 and 4. You can get that middle lane rolling. You have a teammate behind you. But the thing for Texas Spots that he's starting to lose patience with is that he realizes the car behind him has much fresher tires. As, a little bit of a brake check there from Dowdy. That's going to put the 51 up to the high side. The 51's going to have to lift to get back in the draft. Spots is going to lose patience because he knows he's faster. And he also knows that car behind is on much, much fresher tires. He has to make the move sooner than later. Otherwise, he is going to falter and start to fall back yet again.
We're scrolling through these drivers now, and Dowdy's still holding on, tough and resilient, but the 47 is right up his tailpipes. Now 29 laps left in this contest, and it's all for pride for Days of Thunder. But Dowdy, a very strong driver, and he is very strongly carrying that flag. Do you see anybody short pitting at the end of this green flag run, Worm?
I wouldn't, because I mean it's a 6 versus 8 left. So I mean you've got 5 other guys that they could. I mean you've got 5 other guys that needs to get up there with him to keep that lead they had coming out of stage 2. But as of right now, looking back behind Dowdy, I do not see any of his Days of Thunder's teammates back through there.
Days of Thunder certainly up against it, and as the laps take down, it's a numbers game now. Days of Thunder with the fewer number of drivers on the track. You see the 51 mowing down in the grass, so you can arguably say that Days of Thunder is racing for pride, but as IVRL makes mistakes with second and third, Days of Thunder being led by Dowdy 201, currently shining pretty bright at the end of this green flag run. Not more than 6 or 7 of laps of fuel remaining, and probably even less on these tires. Expect to see green flag pit stops pretty soon but it's not over yet. IVRL has made mistakes twice already trying to come down pit road, and it has cost them dearly. Randy Hinshaw, who was fighting for the lead, now finds himself sitting in ninth place with less than 40 to go with green flag stops coming up. WB, this could be the race deciding cycle of stops.
Indeed, and I think we're going to see the strategy flip-flop. Last time we saw Dowdy come down 2 laps before T. Kane, who sits in second, and 1 lap before Texas Spots, who sits in third. But this time, I think we're going to see the role just flip a little bit. Dowdy, he's going to try to come down maybe a lap before Kane, but overall, maybe a lap after Texas Spots. I think you're going to see these guys try to play the track position game and try to mix it up. And you have to have no mistakes here. It's going to be a 3-car race for the win. But another driver I do want to mention that could pop into the picture, we're seeing him come down to the pits now, aka Afraid Snake 4. He's the first one to the pits. This could get interesting.
You see Dowdy's going to stay out for one more lap, and he loses time just a little bit more as the 51 and 47 respectively of Casey Kane and Texas Spots get a little bit closer. Dowdy must be stretching as far as he can now. He's either got to be playing the fuel game or the tire game. With numbers dwindling, I think he's expecting this one to go green all the way.
I think he is too, and here we go. Let's see if the 7, if it's the universal signal, it is. So he's going to try the short pit again. I'm going to tell you what, I really like this strategy here. Overall, by the 7, I think this could be the winning strategy if he gets the perfect pit stop. But only time will tell. And the other question you have to lay is, how long does Casey Kane stay out? I think you have to pit this time if you're Casey Kane to perhaps have a chance at winning this race.
From the 7's finally come down pit road, and he's racing for the win. This could be that race-winning move.
Yeah, he done the same thing on the last stage. I mean, he outsmarted him on the pits, took it ahead, and placed pretty good on that stage. So I mean, it's going to come down to the pit strategy, especially if it stays green, which this is probably going to be their last stop on gas. So the rest is going to come down to conserving tires if it stays green.
Rick, here in this scenario, yet again, we're seeing it yet another time. Casey Kane going 2 laps further. Last time it did not pan out. But, oh, I wonder if something happened to Dowdy. I just see him coming down the pit exit. I wonder, did Dowdy get a black flag? We shall see. As he's coming off of turn number 4. He was in there for a very long time. I'm eager to see what happened here. Maybe I missed something. Dowdy is definitely a little bit farther off. Looks like Texas Spots coming on through. These Spots is just getting down the backstretch. Yeah, he definitely beat Dowdy off. I wonder what happened to the 7.
WB, that could be the final nail in Days of Thunder's coffin. Certainly, it's difficult to tell with no direct communication to race control, but I, for one, am perplexed and very, very interested to see the fate of Days of Thunder now.
Actually, you know what? He may be out there in the lead because he's now ahead of Texas Spots. At first, I thought Spots was on the track, but it was actually him merging off of turn number 1 because he had a car to his inside. So overall, Spots actually bounced off the wall. That's going to put the 7-year leader. And I'm going to say this right now, Rick, because it is so spread out. As the 7 hits the wall, the 47 looking to the inside, giving him a bumper. These guys have to play friendly. The reason why is you want to pull away if you want to win this race, because we know that was the final pit stop. Work together, pull away from the fresher tires, and make a move towards the end.
That 30-lap mark is what we hit this time. Worm, these drivers are now playing strategy. It's a race for the win. IVRL almost, but certainly has this one in the bag. But you mentioned the ego. You mentioned the pride. Each one of these 20 drivers came today with a hope to win this race, and that's how they plan to finish this. 47 to the inside of the 7, and now they're going to race as hard as they can with nothing to lose. The wick is getting shorter, and that fuse is about to blow at Texas.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you're down to less than 20 laps. You ain't got to stop anymore. And 47 and 7, I mean, they're putting on a hell of a clinic right now. I mean, that fight they are is just, it's showing some good race and good sportsmanship between both of them right now.
They're starting to catch lap traffic, which could become a factor. But you look for the 47. He is the leader now. This is going to help the 7 because he can stay in the draft. But Rick, I just still don't know if I quite like that move. I feel like the slower car and older tires being behind you, the 7, it kills the run of the draft a little bit. This could allow Casey Kane, who's just hitting the backstretch now, to really start making up ground. And when I think about it in terms of tires, we may still see one more overall pit stop. This could be interesting because I really think the 47 may have just hurt his chance to win.
The drivers will definitely need one more pit stop. It's going to be 14 laps to go as they cross the line. So now picture this. These drivers can't make it 14 laps on gas. What will they do? Do they stretch it? Do they save resources? They're not going to make it on tires either. So it's going to be a short pit race to the finish. And I think that the driver that manages to maintain his resources the best will win this one at the end, same as we said at the top of the show.
You said something earlier, WB, about 7 being behind the 47 and letting him go. He may be using it just to stay in the draft and conserve gas. I mean, he has been smart pit strategy.
I have to say, Dowdy's been very smart, but I don't know how much fuel you could save here in Texas on default, that is, without going extremely off the pace. And you see the 47 of Texas spots in the lead, but if there is anyone I think that can play this strategy to a T, it's the guy in third of Casey Kane. Expect him to not be scared. We've seen him go the longest on tires and fuel. He may very well try to stretch this as long as he can, maybe take a half a can in rights when it comes to it being said and done, and trying to win this one. Or he may turn around and pit early. I mean, right now, Rick, if you are a driver battling for the lead in this scenario, what are you doing? Do you come earlier to take your 2? Or how long do you wait? Do you wait all the way to the end so you take less fuel? I don't really know.
I think some of these drivers are going to try and save fuel. Drivers like the 7 who have nothing to lose are going to be on that economy run to save that last pit stop and win this one at the end. The 47 of Texas Spots needs to drive fast enough to maintain the lead, but slow enough so that he doesn't burn his resources. The 7 knows this, and he's putting the pressure. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, that opens the door for the 51 of Casey Kane trailing behind in third. We don't know Casey's strategy, but certainly Casey's strategy could be dictated by what the top 2 are racing for. Coming this time by, it's going to be 9 laps to go. Still no indications of pitting, WB, and we're only getting started at the end of this one.
And here comes Dowdy. He's looking to the inside, and oh man, he almost moved the 47 up. I think these two realize they're not going to make it to the end, obviously. I don't think they're saving an inch by listening to their engine. They're going to try to battle it out to try to go to the lead. I really think Dowdy shouldn't keep on tapping that bumper of the 47 as he does there as he goes to the inside for the lead. Dowdy out in front across the line. I don't think it's a brilliant move, though, because I think if you're going to play the strategy to be the first car to pit, you're going to want to be behind that 47.
8 laps to go as they cross the line, 7.5 as they come down the backstretch, 7 in the lead, 47 in second. 47 tries to make the move down to the inside in the third corner. He's got the low lane, 7 to his outside. 47 sliding high out of the fourth corner, 47 side by side out of fourth, 7 to go this time by. The 51 of Casey Kane looking on. hoping for a window to open. These two still side by side into the first corner. It's anybody's race, WB.
Indeed, as they touch off of turn number 2, here comes Texas Spots back to the lead. But don't look back too far because here comes Casey Kane. He is pushing into 3, trying to get back up to the bumper. These two is Spots that time bounces off the apron. The momentum has been killed. Dowdy to the lead for the moment as they touch a couple more times. But here is Casey Kane as he is now all over the rear bumpers. The 47 now moves up the racing surface, and we have a 3-car race now.
The 7 of Dowdy now pulling away. Worm, you saw the 47 hit the apron, and he's getting fantastically loose out of 2, having a heavy challenge from his teammate in the 51. Dowdy is loving this, but these two IVRL drivers need to get in line if they want to win this one. As they cross the line, it's 5 laps to go. Worm, do the 47 and 51 have anything for Dowdy in the 7?
If they'll hook it up, they'll catch back up with them. But 51, he was kind of just waiting for them to make a mistake, being patient. Well, he's caught up with them while they was fighting, but hitting that apron's kind of threw a wrench into Casey's plan. So seeing how he's going to recover, if he's going to push his teammate either to the lead or out of the way.
And well, I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm Dowdy and I have to pit, you got to come down this time. Do not let the 47 as well as Casey Kane right behind dictate what happens to you. You got to come down sooner than later. I mean, right now, that 51 looks electric behind, but he's got to get the run. Here comes the 47 back to the bumper. Perhaps we could see a lead change another time. He sits behind the 7 through turn number 1 and 2, but now he looks for that run down the backstretch. Who's going to pit? Who doesn't? Doesn't look like anyone signals as they continue the green flag run into turn number 3.
It's going to be 2 laps to go, this time by WB, 7 leading the 47, leading the 51. A 3-way fight for first, with the 19 being the lap car just up ahead. Does he play the pick? Does he get out of the way? It's Dowdy, Spots, and now in the 51 you have Casey Kane, who's making that challenge for second place, and he's had enough sitting in third. 51 to the outside, no cigar. Coming down to the inside, white flag this time by WB.
Indeed, as Dowdy comes in at turn number 3, Spots tries to make the bump and run, but overall, he's going to have one more chance to do it. They dive off a 4. Dowdy's loose on the inside. Oh, they're wrecking. They want around. Put Texas Spots out in front. A big save by the 7. That is going to be costly. Or how about this? Race has come to an end.
That's the end. That's the finish of the race. Right there, we're watching from the feet of the 12, who's a lap down in 4th. That's my mistake. They weren't coming to the white flag. That was the race for the win, and looks like the 7 car crossed the line first. That was the 7 of Dowdy who crossed the line and won the race for Days of Thunder. Big points for the 7. Apologies to the fans. Our lap counter was off by 1, but now you see cars are rolling around the track all together now. It's the 7 of Dowdy 201 picking up the win for Days of Thunder. What a finish there.
My goodness. I mean, Worm, what's your response to this? We knew Days of Thunder, they were tight in terms of the resources coming to the end. Dowdy did the must of holding off for the victory. But the question is, does IVRL have enough in that bag to take away the victory here in this one?
You know, the points is going to be a shakeup. I mean, it was not maybe as close of a points race as some of the other ones, but the the intensity of the last few laps, I think that was pretty interesting.
It was. And Rick, I mean, obviously we were off by 1 lap. we go back and look at that block from Dowdy that he made with what actually was 2 laps to go, coming off of turn number 4, taking the white flag. Suddenly, that block becomes critical because it caused both of the teammates to have to check up and try to work together to get around the 7, in which they couldn't do the following time by to the checkered flag.
It was a fantastic final lap there, and that block was crucial in ensuring the win for Dowdy. But with the numbers, with the strength in driver numbers going to IVRL, I want to know who has the most points. With Dowdy picking up the win, but having the least number of drivers for his team, my prediction is that IVRL will come away with this one, but we'll only find out when Commissioner Slidejob comes in and lets us know. In the meantime, we're going to have interviews from our top 3 finishers in just a moment.
Yeah, it was. I don't know, man. I mean, it was mixed up. You got people disconnecting. You've got pit road mishaps. You've got mishaps on the track. It's you know, it's about as close of a race as you could have on the field. But I'm just going to honestly, straight up and say it. Dowdy, he put on a clinic tonight. He gave those IVRL boys, a run for their money.
For me, he was driver of the day. I would give driver of the day to Dowdy. An impressive drive, and if certainly not Dowdy, then Randy Hinshaw coming back from a pit road mistake and being trapped a lap down to finishing 4th in this one. So a thrilling finish nonetheless, but I'm certainly impressed by the driver of the 7 and the 12, Dowdy and Randy alike.
Indeed, when you look at it, Rick, when it's all said and done, I mean, what a job by IVRL to, make back up the ground after you mentioned Randy's mistake to still come home 4th. And sure, you didn't pick up the victory in this race, but 2 through 4, that's pretty good because that's looking at some good points. And we mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, the differential was 14 points, Rick, at the end of stage 2 in benefit of Days of Thunder. You have guys in 2 through 4, even with Days of Thunder picking up the victory through Dowdy, could put them in the beneficiary spot and the key crucial finishing results to give them the win.
Absolutely, I could not agree more. And now the only thing left to do is wait patiently for the results to come in as the points are
All right, drivers are gonna be
tabulating.
good.
Well, the other question, too, where you have to ask, Rick, is there going to be any extra point penalties assessed? There was cars parked, there was other things. So I'm eager to see also if that comes into the picture. Obviously, we saw more Days of Thunder cars parked than IVRL cars, but at the end of the day, obviously, there's going to be a lot to look into in terms of replays and such. I mean, it's going to be a close one, and I'm eager to see what the points look like, Worm.
Yeah, these points are going to be. And I believe Commissioner Ford's trying to break in, so I'm going to hold that up and let it go to him.
Oh, I was just saying that the drivers will be here in just a minute. We're getting all the top drivers and owners.
And we are getting ready for interviews. However, we do have a little bit of time, I guess, while we have the chance, which I will then signal in Frydog 32, who perhaps has some results for us here from race number 1 that were race number 20.
Yeah, I have the results, the unofficial results for the first race that we saw. We had on with Kid Dynamite and Trump. Did the commentary over there with Dohar, really helping out and doing the pace car. And Alpha and myself and Boehner were in the booth or in the race control. But unofficial points. Let me get to it.
You should have all the drivers ready for interviews now.
Yeah, I think you got ours 3 in there.
Sorry. Come back to me.
We'll come back to
Yeah,
you
so
after interviews.
We're still
No
discussing.
problem.
Why don't
Let's
you
have a word
interview?
here with Dowdy 201. Dowdy, a thrilling drive in that number 7. You were up against it, but you managed to come back and pick up that win. How difficult was it to hold off the 47 and the 51 of Texas and Casey?
Oh man, it was tough. I was literally when I went across the finish line, I had no feel, and I blocked all I can. But I really want to thank Anthony for putting this on. But I had to start in the back because I went one extra lap in qualifying. I was like, oh man, I am doomed. So I tried my best. I won. I got second in the first stage, third in the second stage. I had to try my best. I just did all I can. I held off them two, and I got the win. So it feels really great to win this race.
Absolutely. WB, we had another fast driver in Texas spots 122. He nearly came away with the win at the end.
Indeed, Spots, obviously, you came home second, and we knew you had a very fast car. And obviously, big credit to Dowdy being able to hold on. But it seemed like you had your teammate, Casey Kane, on your bumper as well. How much of a challenge was it coming to the end to try to battle for that victory, knowing that the laps were winding down?
Yeah, it was pretty fun racing the 7 car. He raced me clean. I think I raced him clean. I was trying to get a win for IVRL. I guess Casey and I didn't work well enough to get it done. I knew the 7 car pitted a lap early, so I thought he was going to run out of fuel, but he didn't till turn 4. So, just didn't get it done.
Oh, you
A
mentioned the
challenging drive either
fuel.
way. Sorry, go ahead, WB.
Oh, I was going to say, you mentioned fuel. How tight was it there coming to the end, Texas?
I have 1 to go coming out of 4. So I was good probably for another lap. Probably would have ran out where the 7 ran out. He pitted a lap before us, but it was a fun race. Congrats to him, and I hope we did it good enough to move on.
Indeed, it was a great job either way from all the drivers. One of the drivers that put in one of the shifts tonight, Randy Hinshaw, in the number 12 racing for IVRL. Randy, we saw you have some trouble come down pit road, but you managed to lick together a 4th place finish.
Yeah, I just came in a little too hot trying to keep as much momentum and make up as much ground as I could and messed up there. So feel bad for the team. Kind of feel like we let it down there. Had a good car tonight and was definitely running up front all night until then. Had some bad luck in stage 1 and got a lap down, but we battled back and had a good race. Just looking for a good outcome and points here, and appreciate everybody that showed up, and thank Fast Family Racing League for putting it on, and Anthony for all he's done. Ford has been a big part of that. All you commentators, I appreciate you guys, and look forward to hopefully making it to round 2.
And Rick, if you don't mind, I do have to ask a question over on the IVRL side, especially for the team captain, Randy Hinshaw. We have to watch your stream a little bit in regards to counting the numbers. And I really do have to ask you on a side thing, how much was it to put together that sim rig? Because that thing looks awesome, man.
No, man. Really, it's the wheel and pedals, the seat, and the screen. I got about $1,000 in it. It's not too much. I really need to get over to the iRacing side, but that's a little bit more expensive there. But everything's pretty much just cheap pieces of wood that I've built to build the cage, and turned out pretty good.
The investment always pays off. And now, Worm, I want to turn it to you because we look on the opposite side as well. Our 3rd place result of Casey Kane, who we haven't talked today, another good result for him, for the IVRL guys, getting that 2 through 4 spots. First off, Worm, you would have to imagine for IVRL, this was critical coming to the end.
Casey Kane, you got us?
Casey, your mic's on mute. Trying to talk.
We'll see. Perhaps a technical.
We'll come back to Casey Kane in a minute here. Let's see if we can get a word in with Impact, WB.
Indeed,
Hey,
Apologize, go Impact.
It was a pretty good race. We had some bad luck in the start and lost about 6 people before segment 2. So me and Dowdy had to get as many spots as we could to hopefully close the gap and hopefully pull off the upset.
In Impact, I have to ask. Obviously, you mentioned losing a couple spots early on. You, like Dowdy, were battling early on and looked to be the hearts of the Days of Thunder Racing League early on in that race. How hard of a battle was it keeping track position, especially through the pit stops and everything, and playing strategies? Because it looked like the field got mixed up all day long, especially with the variety of yellows.
Me and Dowdy had a plan from the start. You got 20 laps per tank. We were going to run the tank down and pretty much lap to go. We get 7-8 cars a lap down on the first strategy, hoping people short pitted. I told him before that last run, you had to make 20 laps per run. You make 20 laps per run, you got a shot at it.
Indeed, and obviously, it picked up and definitely worked out for Dowdy there towards the end. I do want to ask you one last question. Obviously, we don't know the results yet. But that first stage was critical for you guys, getting that track position and points. Obviously, second stage didn't work out with a couple of disconnects. How confident are you feeling in the perhaps the opportunity to win here and move on to the next round?
Our strategy was like when we seen, I think IVRL had 5 or 6 pit early in stage 1. 7 mode at that point. We ended up with 6 or 7 in top 10 on the first stage. Strategy didn't play out too well in the second stage. We kind of had it. Some late cautions kind of set. We only got, I think, 3 or 4 that kind of put us behind the 8 ball, and we had some cars disconnect. But dude, hats off to Dowdy. Everybody that's put this event together. It was fun. Wish I could have done a better finish for it, but I'm definitely happy with what effort we put through.
Indeed, and of course, thank you so much for talking to us, especially Impact. And Rick, by the way, there's another driver as well for the Days of Thunder Racing League that we saw up in front a couple times today. That is a firefighter.
Firefighter drove the 24 Exalta Chevrolet today. Fighter, you made your way all the way up to 3rd place, despite contact from your own teammates and contact from drivers around you. Was it difficult staying off each other coming out of turn 4?
Yeah, turn 4 is definitely not the turn you want to be side by side with your teammates with. But other than that, the car was pretty decent. But we had a penalty there that we had to do. Ended up getting a couple laps down, ended up coming back, got back up to the top 5 at least, and then we just fell off the pace, went through the grass a couple times, not really sure what happened there.
It was a difficult drive, but a valiant drive altogether. Regardless, Days of Thunder has to hold their heads high. The drivers that remained put in a very strong shift, as did all the drivers from IVRL. Patiently waiting for Slyjob to complete his points tally, and we'll have the result and our survivor coming up in just a moment.
Yeah, we're all set here.
Commissioner, please.
All right. So, we talked about how Days of Thunder got out to a strong lead in stage 1, taking a 35-point lead early. IVRL trying to reel it back in, winning stage 2. I'm going to start with Days of Thunder. They're going to come home with 247 points in stage 3. Giving them a grand total of 309 for their effort. Now we're going to go with IVRL. They came in stage 3 with 287 points, bring their grand total to 335. So IVRL making the extreme comeback and able to capitalize, and they will be unofficially moving on. So
35 points. Down 35 points after the first stage. Go ahead, Slyjob.
No, I was gonna. We're down here with the owners, so we're first gonna talk to Randy. So Randy, you guys were in a deep hole in the first stage. I know there probably were some frustrations there, but your guys ended up pulling it together and coming back. So, how does that make you guys feel, and what are you looking forward to in the next round?
Man, we're really excited. Proud of all our guys tonight for sticking with it and trying to finish the race. There was a little bit of frustration through stage one. About 3 of us got trapped a lap down. 2 of us got it back. Another guy ended up losing a couple more laps through the cautions and other things. But I'm just real glad that we battled back. I'm not going to lie. I was very nervous waiting on the points tally there. I'm very relieved to hear that we made it to round 2. We got some really good drivers, you know. If you don't know about us, check us out because we've got some really talented drivers, and I think we showcase that tonight.
Absolutely. You are going to be joining 7 of the 8 ranked teams to move on to the second round. I guess the organizers guessed pretty well. I'll take 7 out of 8. I think Ford will too.
Yeah.
But congratulations. And we'll, hopefully the results stand for you. And
Hey.
now, oh, go ahead. Do you have something else?
Sorry, I just wanted to thank everybody in here for doing what they do. I appreciate all you guys.
You're very welcome.
It's not an easy job.
All right, now we are here with Dowdy. So Dowdy, unfortunately, if the results stand, you will not make it to the next round. You guys fought valiantly. You even won the race. Um, you know, what are your last words for your team in this tournament?
Yeah, I just want to thank all of my guys here. We tried super hard because of our lag outs. We just had to do our best. But it was hard. I just want to thank IVR tonight. The lag outs I felt bad about, but we had a really great race tonight. We'll move on and do our best in the league.
Absolutely. You guys absolutely impressed a ton of people. You gained a ton of respect from the community. Class acts all night long. And definitely fast. So I'm sure there's a ton of people at home that either want to watch Days of Thunder during your regular league races or become a member of Days of Thunder. So let the fans at home know how they can follow you and how they can join.
You can follow us at Day of Thunder Racing League. If you want to join, please PM me. My name is Dalton Dowdy on Facebook. You can PM me. We'll get you signed up and we'll get you started.
Absolutely. Give these guys a follow. They are fantastic racers. If you want to be a part of them, like he said, find him on Facebook and find that league and give them some follows. They're awesome guys. So thank you very much. And we hope you come back for the next one.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to send it back up to the booth. They will be talking about tomorrow's race, the last race of the first round, finally. And actually, before that, real quick, what about Ford, the final thoughts?
My final thoughts is, both teams ran really hard. There were some, penalties that could have been corrected before they happened. But I mean, we learn, and it could have been, technical difficulties on their parts, and we feel bad about that. But I do hope they join us if it stands, and they move on, or if it doesn't stand and they get eliminated. I really do hope everybody comes back. It was a fun race to watch. Cautions, I think could have been cut down, but yeah, I mean, it was a real fun race to watch, and that third stage was awesome. I mean, it came down to strategies and teamwork, and that's what we'd love to see is all that going on. And definitely Dowdy put on a good show. He put on a good fight. Keeping those. I saw him drafting and saving fuel, and I knew he was just buying his time, waiting for that. Waiting for that right moment to make his move, and when he did, it was definitely the right time, and he got that win. But yeah, it was really good third stage. I really enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed calling it. I enjoyed everybody being here. So we appreciate y'all. We appreciate the commentators commentating the race, and We'll see y'all next time.
Absolutely. It was a wild first race at Texas in the tournament, and for sure, definitely one to remember. So, with that, I'm going to send it up to the boys in the booth to talk about tomorrow and wrap it up.
Actually, one more thing. We still need the results from race one that Frydog was going to talk about before we wrap things up. So Fry, if you are ready with it this time, glad to hear.
Are you ready? Okay, so the NEEA 3-wide matchup tonight had an NEA driver of shotgun winning the race. And with a score of 349 to 295, the unofficial results is NEEA won at Kentucky tonight.
I believe that's ENEA.
Yeah, ENEA or something. It's a mouthful.
NASCAR Elite Association.
ENEA. Yeah.
There it is.
Have
So
moved
there
on.
are two more of your unofficial spots to the next round, and the boys upstairs are going to talk about the last one.
Indeed, is. By the way, I do want to make note as well. Technical issue right now for Worm Rider. So it'll be just me and Rick wrapping this one up for tonight. But I mean, when you look at tomorrow's race, the final race of the first round, and Rick, we mentioned it before the top of the broadcast, where it is going to be so exciting to round out this first round. And tomorrow it should only get more exciting. The racing should be meaningful and impactful. And perhaps it could be our most exciting race in the entirety of round one, as the full throttle Thursday night racing league will be taking on the hybrid racing league overall at Texas, a track that we just saw tonight.
Race 21. We finally reached the end of the first round of this amazing racing tournament. I'm so excited to see what either of these teams are going to bring to the track tomorrow. Even though we're closing out this opening round, it's still going to be full out. Full Throttle is going to be taking on Hybrid right here at Texas tomorrow. Myself, Word Burton, you, and Atlanta Racing are going to be in the booth for that one tomorrow night. So I'm super thrilled to see what's going to come of that one. That's going to be tomorrow night, August 7. Tonight, August 6, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Full Throttle versus the Hybrid to close out the opening round. And the final team will punch their ticket into round number 2.
It is going to be exciting. And, we also mentioned on the top of the broadcast as well, Rick, we could start putting together the positions and the rankings going into the next round. And we mentioned two teams of the ENEA who now moves up just outside the top 10 in terms of ranking for their round points in IVRL, who right now has the 15th ranking. All that's needed left is one ranking to decide the seeding. And right now, SXRL has the bye for the moment, but you have to wonder, will one team tomorrow make a push to maybe make one last stand to get that bye for next round?
I'm incredibly excited to see how hard either of these teams drive tomorrow and what they bring to the table. As far as we're concerned, we need to wrap up tonight before we get to tomorrow. And let's not forget about our esteemed colleague, Worm Rider. Fans at home can follow him on Twitter at Worm Rider with a 3 replacing the E. So that's at Worm RID, the number 3R.
And we'd like to
Where
thank
can your
our
fans find you?
amazing commentators. And go ahead. Sorry.
Word, the fans can find you at I've been Tim Moore on Twitter, and myself, Rick James. The fans can find me at I'm Rick James. I am Rick James 36 on Twitter. That's where we're going to be tomorrow night. Word, thank you so much for having me in your booth tonight. Worm Rider, thank you for having me in your booth tonight. I am so excited to close this out tomorrow night, WB.
And we'd like to thank. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're
Sorry.
good. Good. You're
I
good.
was
You're
just gonna
commissioner.
say,
Go ahead.
wanted to thank all the commentators. You just heard them. I also want to thank Captain for being an awesome pace car once again. Thank you very much. And I want to thank all the officials for all the hard work they put in on this last doubleheader night. Each doubleheader presents interesting challenges to get through it, but they've done fantastically again today. So thank you to them. And thank you for everybody watching.
Indeed, as to wrap things up overall, tonight was awesome. The latest race we had in the entirety of the first round, and it carried to a whole new day. And later tonight, we will have more racing to round out round number 1 of the Fast Family League Showdown. With that being said, I've been Ward Burton alongside Rick James 36 and Worm Rider 38024 saying so long as you've been watching the Fast Family Racing League Showdown, or rather the Fast Family League Showdown. And we'll see you tomorrow for the final race of round number 1. Have a good night, everyone, and we will see you tomorrow.